Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and tonight we have guest Elizabeth Hancock. She's the author of Human Origins, The Multiverse, and Our Star Ancestry, and Work Your Energy. Those are two different books of hers. We're going to get into all that stuff. This is a very Paranormal Soupy guest. Talking about multiple dimensions, reptilians. I was checking out her YouTube channel. Man, there's so many rabbit holes to go down with this guest tonight. Are we living in like a Matrix holographic universe? All kinds of stuff. Deep thoughts with Jason Bland and Elizabeth Hancock tonight, I think, is going to be the show. She's a really interesting guest, so I'm happy to have her on. And then, of course, a lot of weird to get to in the World Wide Web of weird. I don't know if we're going to have a show next week. I don't have a lot of guests booked for this month or next. Might have some open lines, might have some shows. Definitely going to have our Halloween show. We definitely have confirmed Katrina Cooper will be coming back for our Halloween show. So we got a lot going on, a lot to get to, so let's go ahead and get rolling into the show. Welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. As I said before, I'm your host, Jason Bland. Tonight's guest, Elizabeth Hancock, will be joining us after the World Wide Web of Weird, after our first commercial break. But joining me, as always, is my beautiful co-host, Jamie D. How you doing tonight, Jamie?
Doing well, thank you.
Glad to have you here. I think, like I said, this is going to be an interesting guest tonight. She has a lot of different soupy topics. You know what I'm saying? We're going to probably get into a lot of different topics tonight. And, of course, guys, we will open up the phone lines later in the show. I don't know if Rob's going to make it here with us, so I'm probably going to have to run the World Wide Web of Weird. I do have to say I had to pay the yearly bill of the website so we can keep running the radio network and all that. That website bill keeps getting higher every year. They keep charging me more. I need to look into a different one or not. But I will say this. Thank you to my Patreons. Your $1 a month or $2 a month help pay that bill. I might have canceled it if it wouldn't have been for you. I might have ended the radio network side of the show for how hefty that bill got this year. So thank you to my Patreons, all of you out there. I love you so dearly for helping pay the bills for the show. And also you YouTube Super Chat donators out there, like my friend Russ, who's donated several times. It's his birthday. Happy birthday, Russ, out there, childhood friend. And you can donate on YouTube, too. That goes towards the bills of the show, which basically I don't make money doing the show. I make just enough to pay the bills for the StreamYard and the website and the radio network and the radio archive and all that stuff. Your guys' donations help pay those bills, so thank you so much. Well, we got a lot of weird to get to, so let's go ahead and roll into the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight on the World Wide Web of Weird, we are going to talk about, let me see here, because I am way behind on setting my stuff up here. We're going to talk about, I had to talk about this. I didn't have it in last week's. And I was like, you know what? I still want to talk about it. I took it out of last week's. We had so much. But I got to talk about this because it's something I've been calling out for years on this show. And I'm sure many of you have already seen it because it's been out for a couple weeks. Is the mushroom robot. Yes, the mushroom robot. Bioelectrical robots. That's what I've been predicting for years, and here we are. For those listening on the Paranormal Soup radio network, we are a webcast that streams out live to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. If you want to watch, come check it out. We do sometimes have videos and stuff and photos, and the guest usually is on by video call, but I will narrate as best as possible. Let me get to this first one here. Let me take care of something. Let me see here. Okay, I wanted to send something there. Okay, let me go. Let me get this here up. I'm sorry. I am so bad at this. This is Rob. I wish you were here. I know, Rob. It's all right. All right, let me get this up. Share screen. So not prepared, was I? No. Sorry. Hold on with me. It's this production here. You know, it looks awful. I'm sorry. All right, what is my first one? The robot. Yeah. Have you guys seen this? Have you guys talked about this? I didn't get to see Weird Wednesday. The last one. The mushroom robot.
No, I don't think I have seen this one.
I got Alec Fernandez from Coast to Coast's article on this. Researchers at Cornell University have animated a robotic exoskeleton by connecting it to a king oyster mushroom. The biohybrid machine, have I not called this, Jamie, for years that they're going to go down this road? The biohybrid machine reads electrical impulses generated by the mushroom in response to its environment, then translates these signals into specific movements. In the video here, the fidgeting fungi is seen dancing across the table when exposed to bursts of ultraviolet light. The scientist's breakthrough could allow more advanced robots to respond organically to their surroundings rather than relying on a series of hard-coded commands. It also provides a new way of interpreting nature's subtlest forms of communication, as hypersensitive strands of mushroom mycelium are better at reading environmental cues than both humans and machines. The potential for future robots could be to sense soil chemistry in row crops and decide when to add more fertilizer, said Professor Ron Shepard. That sounds great. That sounds great. Yeah, sure. Fungi thrive in conditions that are unsuitable for other living organisms, making the mushrooms the ideal candidate for their biohybrid technology. I mean, these things could be great. These could be really great. You know, like we could really use this for good and all that stuff. But I'm telling you, we're going to get biohybrid Terminators. Terminators. I don't know. I'm telling you, like even the AI supercomputer things, what really scares me when they're doing like the mice brain cells and computer chips and stuff, and even when they start making human brain cell computer chips, I'm really concerned. Imagine AI that's powered by biology. We get the Borg. I mean that's what we get. Or right now we got this thing. This thing. This is what we get right now. Later, this thing's like hugging your face and ripping out your eyeballs. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I've already started thinking about that Born theory.
Planting its nanotechnology fungi in your mind. I don't know. Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on. Okay. Again, kind of the continuing story of these astronauts stuck in space, but this one's a weird part of it. NASA offers explanation for strange noises coming from the Boeing Starliner. The fact it's probably just falling apart in space, probably. When astronauts Barry Wilmore and Sunita Williams launched aboard the Boeing Starliner spacecraft on its debut crewed mission back in June, they expected to remain on board International Space Station for around 8 days before returning to Earth. Yeah, that's not how that turned out. As that stands, plethora of technical issues with the vehicle has prevented them from leaving, and it doesn't look as though they will be getting home anytime soon. As if this wasn't bad enough, Wilmore reported during the weekend that he could hear strange noises coming from the Starliner capsule that remained docked at the station. I don't know what's making it, he said. The sounds described by the NASA as a pulsing noise, almost like a sonar ping, went on to leave experts scratching their heads and prompted other astronauts to offer their own thoughts. Former astronaut Chris Hadfield, who famously played guitar during his extensive time aboard the orbital outpost, suggested the sounds was particularly disconcerting. There are several noises I'd prefer not to hear inside my spaceship, including this one that Starliner is now making, he wrote on social media. As it turns out, however, the sound is actually nothing to worry about. Okay. You tell me if you still, after this, if you're still like, oh yeah, nothing to worry about. A pulsing sound from a speaker in a Boeing Starliner spacecraft heard by NASA astronaut Butch Wilmore aboard the International Space Station has stopped, NASA later explained. The feedback from the speaker was the result of an audio configuration between the space station and the Starliner. It's common to experience noises and feedback. Do you trust that explanation? Do you trust that's what it is? I don't. Well, this particular mystery has been put to bed.
That always happened.
Right. Well, this particular mystery has been put to bed. It still doesn't help Wilmore and Williams, who remain stranded aboard the space station for the foreseeable future. That's the last thing these poor people need. They're stranded up there. They're hearing weird noises. You know. Yeah, you don't want to hear hardly any noises while you're up there. It should be dead quiet, right?
Some people were even saying that the noises could be them actually getting hacked and then having them sent.
I heard that or something like that. Yeah,
just
I don't know.
A bunch of
different
things.
Yeah, but you know, even if their explanations are true, dear God, you already screwed around with these people enough, and now you're got them up there paranoid about the noises they hear in space. All right, let's move on.
Thanks, Boeing.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Boeing. And then we got more strives in space. Polaris Dawn astronauts complete first spacewalk by private citizens. Mission, which launched 2 days ago, saw billionaire entrepreneur Jared Isaacman, along with retired pilot Scott Petit, SpaceX engineer Sarah Gillis, and SpaceX operation lead Anna Menon, if you say that right, soared into the heavens aboard a Crew Dragon capsule. Their trip into space, which remains ongoing, has so far gone without a hitch. An earlier today, both Isaacman and Gillis became the first private citizens ever to conduct a spacewalk. On top of this, the crew also reached a distance of 870 miles above Earth, which is the furthest any human has been since the end of the Apollo program over 50 years ago. Yeah, we're basically low atmosphere most of the time. It's gorgeous, Isaacman said upon emerging from the capsule during the spacewalk. Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, Earth sure looks like a perfect world, blah, blah, blah. Nice of you, you rich billionaire a-hole, that you got to go up in space and do a spacewalk. Hey, you got a bunch of money, good for you. Good for you. Got your penis rocket up into space and got to walk out into space. You know, play some, David Bowie, Ground Control, Uncle Tom up there. I'm sure you did, or some stupid rich people. Sorry, I'd like to go for a spacewalk.
Hell yeah!
It is for the rich only. It really is. I mean, it's so much money, just blown to get up there. Mm-hmm. So he can go back to his rich friends and be like, I went on a spacewalk while you were skiing Aspens.
Have you been?
Have you been? Have you been?
Have you been?
My penis rocket will get me there next month. Shut up. Moving on. Moving on from rich a-holes with penis rockets. We're going to another rich a-hole that's going to have his own penis rocket. Thomas Cruise, obsessions with aliens, fuels bid to film movie in space. Tom Cruise is just not rich enough yet to build his own penis rocket, but he is a Hollywood star that does his own stunts. And he's pitched the film that he gets to film doing his own stunts in space, man.
So he'll ride in the penis rocket.
Man has a death wish, you know it. There's no denying that Tom Cruise has been going from strength to strength in recent years. From not only starred in several blockbuster movies, but also having famously performed most of his own stunts, many which involve death-defying parachute jumps and other similarly dangerous acts. But there's one thing that Cruise has been wanting to do for years, and it's something that to date no other actor has come anywhere close to accomplishing. Filming a movie in space. According to reports, this drive to venture into the final frontier is based on the actor's real-life obsession with extraterrestrial life, a subject that he's touched upon in some of his previous movie roles. He's fascinated with UFOs, an insider source was quoted by saying. He spends hours reading about them and studying all the many classified documents that have been released about them in the last few years. Well, Tom, come on aboard the Paranormal Soup show. Let's talk. No, I promise not to mention Scientology once. I will not do it. I don't know if I could do that. He has all sorts of high-powered telescopes and thinks people that doubt the existence of life on other planets are delusional ones who are just kind of uneducated. All things stand as it understood that his upcoming space movie will be filmed through a collaboration between Universal Pictures and SpaceX, and that will be directed by Doug Liman. While the plot of the currently is unknown, I bet the plot's unknown to them too. It's likely to have something to do with aliens, and Cruise is expected to perform all his own stunts, and that's how it was pitched. Yeah, it's gonna be aliens, and Cruise is doing his own stunts up there. Rockets. And the plot, we'll figure it out, but we need money. Give us the money for it.
We just need him looking real cool up there.
Is he gonna jump up and down up in space like he did on Oprah's couch? I don't know.
Oh no.
Hey man, another rich a-hole. It's like just living the dream, dude. I want to go. He wants to go to space too.
Today.
He doesn't have the money, Virgin Atlantic or Bezos or those guys with the penis rockets. He's got a lot of money, but he can get a film pitch to get him there. Smart man.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the stunt that does him in? Finally, the ultimate, I don't know. I do my own stunts. I don't know, man. The whole alien thing with him, though, is not surprising because he's into Scientology.
Exactly.
L. Ron Hubbard wrote all that stuff, the secret knowledge about, that you had to get deep into. It was really about aliens. Like the aliens seeded us here, and it's all stuff he stole from New Age stuff. Yeah.
And
so it does not surprise me.
Heavy believer in all of that.
Makes me wonder if he's seen one, or something, or something's happened to him. That he's so obsessed with it. That might have been what drew young Tom Cruise into Scientology. Was somebody pitched him, hey, it's really about aliens, Tom. It's a secret. Don't tell anybody. We'll also hook you up with some hot young actress and force her to do all these things. We'll destroy all your enemies. But it's about aliens, Tom. Okay, let's move on. Sorry, I'm getting weird on that one.
That's what we're
all right, moving on to more rich a-holes and space. That's the theme tonight, I guess. SpaceX will start launching starships to Mars in 2026. 2026. Elon Musk says. I swear to God, this said 2025 the other day. Maybe they secretly edited it. No, we mean 2026. Or just keep pushing it back.
See when it says last updated.
Yeah. It's published date. I don't see if it says it's updated. There will be uncrewed to test reliability of landing intact on Mars. If the landings go well, then the first crewed flights to Mars will be in 4 years. So they're getting ready to start launching uncrewed missions to Mars. SpaceX Starship Mega Rocket will start flying Mars missions just 2 years from now if all goes according to plan. There will be uncrewed tests of the reliability of landing intact on Mars. If those landings go well, then the first crewed flights to Mars will be in 4 years, SpaceX founder and CEO Elon Musk said via X on Saturday evening, September 7th. And it posted and announced that the bold new target timelines, Earth and Mars align properly for interplanetary missions once every 26 months. Flight rate will grow exponentially from there, with the goal of building self-sustaining cities is about 20 years, Musk added. In the same post, being multi-planetary will vastly increase the probable lifespan of consciousness, as we will no longer have all of our eggs literally and metabolically on one planet. The stainless steel starship consists of 2 elements: a first-stage booster called we don't need to get all the technical details, but yeah, he's building his own penis rocket and getting people to Mars, which will be rich people eventually, because this Earth is doomed. What was that 2012 movie? It was awful. Because everybody was scared about 2012. Like, you find out the secret: rich people had already had spaceships and they were all going to Mars. Mm-hmm. Here it is.
China has slingshots to slingshot them up to Mars.
I mean, I just don't think things are going that well in the space program that we're going to be to Mars in 4 years. I don't know. I just don't think things have been going that well. But maybe I'm wrong. I mean, we do have astronauts stuck in space, just to make my point. Just saying. I thought we were going to the moon first. Wait, what about the moon? Right? I thought that was the plan.
They will live stream it. The first the first Artemis walk or what landing.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Then nobody will believe it. All right, let's move on. Well, that's all going on. The aliens are coming here. We got flying saucer filmed by multiple witnesses in Mexico. And this one's gone pretty viral. Multiple witnesses have captured remarkably clear footage of a flying saucer that has seen hovering over Mexican City, according to a local media report. Intriguing sighting occurred this past week in the community of Zitacaro, if I got that right. In a testament to how many people saw the peculiar UFO, at least 3 different individuals managed to film the aerial anomaly that seemingly suddenly appeared in the sky. While 2 of the videos show a dark saucer-shaped object, a third piece of footage looks like at the oddity from a different angle, which reveals that it was silver-colored. As one might imagine, when the various videos were posted online over the weekend, the mass sighting caused something of a stir on social media in Mexico. Theories of what the weird object would have ranged from an alien visitation to something more prosaic, such as a saucer-shaped lantern known as a Cantoyo balloon. That said, no official explanation being offered by authorities nor anyone coming forward to take credit for the craft. This case remains a mystery. That looks way bigger than some kind of balloon, but it means blurry. But this looks like a craft. And the fact that this is filmed by multiple people makes me, I don't think this is CGI or shenanigans. I think something happened. People saw this, lots of people. Again, I'm saying, are we going to get more clear, visible sightings? Are the aliens going to start making their presence more and more known? This is pretty, like, out in the open. Enough that people are pulling out phones and taking camera footage of this thing constant. These are just 3 of the videos, but I've been told there's, you read the reports, there's multiple that are going around social media. Different people got angles and photos of this. It's like a classic kind of
I know
UFO to
we've
me.
had some weather balloons going around, but that's not.
We've talked about that, like
those.
and some hybrid drone balloons, which is like a balloon that's part kind of drone. It's got fan blades and stuff built inside, but it's ballooned to lift it up more, and they can be big. So there is some of that shenanigans going on. Is that what's going on in Mexico? I don't know. Or is it just aliens? I mean, I'm saying, I believe, I have a feeling, inner intuition about things going on in the world. We're going to get more alien sightings. And maybe that, and I've also had that feeling because if the governments are getting all
the talk around nuclear,
right? Well, it's in our consciousness now. You know what I'm saying? Like in 1947, it became like a very much in our consciousness, and we had a lot of sightings. Well, now it's definitely in our consciousness again, publicly. Are we going to get more sightings? Are we affecting our reality that way? Or we're just consciously giving it open invitation to the aliens to come. I am. Things are already messed up. I'll take my shot with the aliens. I don't know. Maybe they can help. Maybe, and if they don't, maybe they can just finish this off quickly and end our mission. I don't know. I'm awful. All right, on to the last one. And this is not to be political, this last one. I am not trying to get into politics. I hate politics, so I'm clear. I hate both sides. I don't care who you're voting for. Good for you. Don't care. Don't care. But I do want to comment on this. Trump is, in a number of several interviews, has been saying Trump promises to publish more secret files on UFOs than JFK. And the original article from this, let me get you the title from the original article. Radar Online, the original article, the unexplained mystery puts in a much more less political phrasing there. Here's the Radar Online article. Trump X-Files vow. Don desperately whips up conspiracy theory backers by promising secret UFO dump if reelected. I love how they twisted that. Great job, Radar. Great job. I like how Unexplained Mysteries just puts the headline that he's talking about it. Let's keep the drama out of it. I want to, presidents are talking about it. How many, Carter promised it and we got nothing. Clinton promised and did some inquiries, got nothing. Trump promised this in 2016, not as much as he is now, but he had talked about it. Not as much about the UFO. He avoided that. But the JFK files in 2015, actually, before the election, he had promised he would release them all. And then when he was elected, said he would. And he didn't. He released some of the files. He could have released all of them. It was on his dime. He was the president. He had the ability. He said that he was talked out of it. What's going to stop him from talking out of it the next time? Why didn't you release them all? How were you talked out of it? Why were you talked? How could you be talked out of it? I trust no one. If this was Kamala Harris saying the same thing, which I don't know, she might now. She likes to jump on board. I'd say the same thing about her. I doubt you will. I doubt you will. You know, this always comes up during election time, like as radar comes to get us conspiracy theorist voters, right?
Like the little carrot.
F you, radar. F you, radar. Go
like
suck.
The little
You know
carrot.
what? I'm not to cuss, but I really hate radar online. You know, I don't care about your feelings about Trump or not. But when you have these people running for office saying that they're going to get this stuff going, they're going to get this information out there, which happens once in a while in these elections. Then they get in, and then somehow they're talked out of it because that's what Trump said before. What could they say to you to talk you out of it, especially on the JFK files?
Yeah, there's probably a lot they could say.
Public trust in our government because we killed JFK. Yeah, that's probably it. Public trust in our government because we don't have any idea about the aliens. They're here, but we have nothing to. We they're way beyond us. You know, that kind of stuff. You know, public trust in the government. Right? Well, didn't I talk about that last Sunday about that article where they're like conspiracy theories about aliens and stuff could lead to lack of trust in government institutions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that the speech they gave to Trump? Bet it was. But that's it for the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight's guest is Elizabeth Hancock. She's the author of Human Origins, the Multiverse, and Our Star Ancestry. Man, all topics we love here on this show. We'll come back with her after this short commercial break, and then later in the show, we will open up the phone lines for you to call in and join the conversation. I don't know how long we have our guest. It's early morning for her, wherever time zone she is. She's daylight time for her, nighttime here. Love that. But she will be joining us, and we'll open up the phone lines later, joining the show. Don't forget, you can help out the show. Like I said, thank you to all my patrons. You did help pay the bills for the website this week. If you want to help out, check us out at Paranormal Soup on Patreon or Jason Bland. You'll find it there. $2 a month, $1 a month. It all helps pay the bills. All right, guys, we'll be right back.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Of the second kind, physical evidence of a UFO. Close encounters of the third kind, contact. From Steven Spielberg, the director of Jaws, comes one of the most ambitious and unusual films ever made. And what you will see has never been seen before. It's a cosmic mystery crossing what many scientists believe will be the next threshold of human experience. It is called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It begins in an Indiana town and leads to one inescapable conclusion. We are not alone. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Certificate A, now showing at the Odeon, Leicester Square.
The international chart-topping, Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest has been described as terrifyingly real, a must-read, shocking and chilling brilliance, genuinely worrying, utterly frightening. Don't read before bed. Described as one of the spookiest writers out there, best-selling author G.L. Davies presents Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest, the true paranormal account that is shocking the world. Dare you enter? Dare you read? Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, and wherever books are sold. Pray you never have to live there.
This is the sound of a space clock aboard a U.S. satellite 180 miles above the Earth. No one winds up this timepiece. It's powered by a tiny battery, a battery that delivers power for years without replacement. Now the same type of battery, the Duracell battery, can bring new reliability and long life to your battery-operated equipment. Radios, cameras, toys, all run far longer. Duracell batteries, the long-distance power cells, outlast any ordinary battery. The same type of battery that keeps space clocks running for years can bring long life to anything powered by batteries. Dura, as in durable. Cell, as in power cell. The Duracell battery, made by Mallory.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Switch to DCS Ranger.
240, nominal to profile.
We're in the pipe. 5 by 5.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, our guest is Elisabeth Hancock. Elizabeth is a researcher and author specializing in spirituality, metaphysics, and consciousness. A dedicated truth seeker, she focuses on the true nature of reality, lost history, secret societies, and our star ancestry. She teaches individuals how to access their intuitive abilities, manage energy, and connect with the invisible world to enhance their lives. Elizabeth's mission is to awaken humanity to our true nature and contribute to the ongoing disclosure of extraterrestrial ancestry, elite corruption, and ancient advanced civilizations. She shares her insights through her books, podcasts, and blogs. I was checking out I haven't read any of her books yet, but I was definitely checking out her YouTube channel. You should. I was getting sucked into many of the topics in her that she was covering in YouTube, like reptilians, your energy, are we in a matrix, a holographic universe? There's so much. This is a great guest, guys, because these are all topics we've gotten into over the 9 years of doing this show. So it's a true honor to have her on the show. We will take your phone calls later in the show after the next commercial break. But let's go ahead and get to our guest. All right, let's bring Elizabeth into the studio. How you doing tonight, Elizabeth?
Hi, I'm good, thanks. I'm good. Is the sun too bright? It's just suddenly come out in full force.
I love it because it's like time traveling here. Like it's all. I look out my window and it's pitch black. I look out yours and it's all nice and sunny. I love it. I love it. Actually,
Okay.
so you're good. You're good. It's an honor to have you on the show, Elizabeth. Like today earlier, I was getting sucked into your YouTube channel on the many of the different topics you were covering. And I like to always start with my guest on how this journey really began for you. What led you down this road of the multiverse and star ancestry, which for me, as a kid, before Ancient Aliens, the TV show, ever existed or anything, I found my mom's book, Chariots of the Gods by Eric von Daniken on her shelf. And that explains it all to me. That makes a lot more sense to me about the Bible.
Yes,
And
I
all
know,
the other
exactly.
stuff. So how'd this start for you?
Yes, and as Eric says, if you change the word heaven to spaceship and God to ET, it makes a lot more sense, the Bible. So I like that analogy. I mean, if you imagine, our ancestors and, you imagine that you have something amazing, transformational happen to you, like an advanced being appears in front of you, just, from nowhere. This would be so transformational for you that you would write this information down. And I think that's what, the religious texts are. They're historical narratives.
Cave paintings,
documents.
even.
Yeah, everything, and they were being visited, I think, just hundreds and thousands of times. I think that our world was very much inhabited by all sorts of different beings, entities. And of course, there's the multidimensional aspect of ourselves as well, which is that we're not just one-dimensional beings ourselves. So I just found this really, really fascinating. And it actually all started with me probably around 10 years ago when my mum died. And I started to hear her voice in my head, and I was just, sort of just chatting to her, talking with her. And I thought it was just probably processing grief, and
Right.
I didn't really think much of it. It was just very comforting to be able to, still chat with her. And then one day my sister was coming to stay, and I asked her if she had a message to pass on to my sister. And she gave me this very simple message, which I won't say because it's private for her, but it was really simple. And I thought, okay, fine. So I passed that message on, and it was completely transformational for her, And
Really?
it was so profound for her, such a simple message, but it was so profound. I started to think, am I actually speaking to my mother? And now, 10 years of research later, I really think that I was.
Yeah.
And, at the same time, my daughter, she was 2, she started talking about her past life. And this went on for 2 years. She obviously lived in India. She lived with her mom and sister. She talked about it like it was just, normal for her. And I made notes. And that's when I put this book together. So, this sort of covers that one. This is Work Your Energy. But it essentially, looks at multidimensionality, string theory. And I wanted to explore, could this stuff be real? And I really think that it is real. And that's where it sort of all began. And then my new book, my latest book, Human Origins, which it's actually, I pressed publish. So it looks like this. This is a photocopy. Big. No, it's not this big.
It's not that big.
This is a
Gotcha.
photocopy for my notes, yeah. And I actually published it on Saturday, so it will be out on Amazon tomorrow morning, I think.
Oh, so it's fresh off the presses.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you sell me on the title right away because this is stuff I've always been interested in. Ancient civilizations, I wanted to be Indiana Jones when I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? Like I've always been fascinated with the history, and Ancient Aliens, to me, has always been the big. And I'm not saying, people's belief in God and the religion, I don't want to offend anybody. I'm not saying the Bible's all aliens, okay? I think a lot of the Old Testament is.
Yeah.
But I think there's so much when you get back to the Anunnaki from the Sumerians, and you have, the Dogon tribes and the star people that they talk to, the Hopi Indians. All these cultures made cave paintings and writings and traditions and rituals and ceremonies, all dedicated to something that they witnessed. They don't just, I get the human imagination is incredible, and we can come up and think up and imagine many things. But something influenced these people on all these different civilizations and assisted them with knowledge. What's the most common theme that we get from this is that these people, they gave us math and astrology. They gave them all this knowledge. It wasn't, so-and-so over there invented that and so invented that. No, the star people, they didn't give credit to their own people.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. But interestingly, the indigenous tribes also, pretty much, all of them, they all talk about how we came from the Pleiades. So it's not that they were just visited by beings and aliens, entities or whatever. It's that, we are actually part of them. And this is very interesting because I think our human DNA, and this is where we're coming into it now, is that there's a lot of our human DNA that we don't know about. Geneticists are not really allowed to talk about these things. There are some of our ancestors that haven't been genetically analyzed, like Homo erectus, so we don't know everything about our DNA. But a very interesting point came up recently by Dr. Gary Nolan, and that is that he has traced back our DNA 9 billion years. And using what we call Moore's law, which every 600 million years, DNA doubles, the complexity doubles. So tracing back, he's found a point of origin. So 9 billion years not only shows that we're not evolved apes, we haven't even evolved on this planet. And I think it's pretty obvious that we haven't evolved on this planet because there's a lot of parts of us that aren't really quite naturally. This isn't our natural habitat. Yeah, exactly. Right. We haven't adapted well, to the sun, to certain things. And I found this really interesting. And, looking at also the Indian Vedas talk about that there are 400,000 humans or humanoids, species, civilizations in this galaxy alone. And these are human races, human civilizations. So as I talk about in my book, we are the aliens. We possibly didn't even come here. We came here from another planet. And I talk about this in the last part of my book, where I wrote a personal bit from me, and it's called Note from the Author. And I took a long time writing this because I thought, I don't want to be ridiculed for this, you know what it's like. And
yeah.
And I wrote, I just have this feeling that our ancestors are calling us, and they're trying to get us, they're trying to convey information. They're trying to get us to wake up. They're trying to tell us something at this time. And this is probably the true meaning of my book, is that it's my exploration around, are my ancestors, trying to tell me something? My ancestors are probably your ancestors, because we all originate from the same genetic bottlenecks that have occurred in our history, tons and tons of times. We've been nearly wiped out so many times, and then we've built back up again from a very small amount of people. And the question is, why haven't we been wiped out? And I think it's because we have other human DNA out in the, in the galaxy, and people come here, other races come here. There's so much evidence and stories and texts around people coming from the sky. And even the 1950s, when Frank Strangis wrote the Stranger in the Pentagon, and he talks about, for 3 years, this person who said he came from Venus actually was in the Pentagon. He was, talking with the president. He was there. He was trying to persuade the people at that time to stop using nuclear energy and to move away from thermonuclear energy. And they wouldn't. And, in the end, he left. He was trying to give them, this is Balfour, he was trying to give them information. He wanted to give them information which would stop poverty, stop famine. So, ways for our food, our crops to be enhanced. And we can see with electroculture farming today that we can enhance food with sound frequency, which is the essence of everything. He also wanted to eliminate, give us healing technologies so that we could literally just heal our bodies. And then there was a third thing he wanted to give us, and they refused this. All they wanted was weapons Free energy, yes, free energy, exactly. So all they wanted to give
Can't
us.
have that.
Yeah, and we've already got free energy. You know, let's face
Yeah.
it, we've had free energy for decades. You know, Nikola Tesla, he recreated this. I think he pulled this in from
Warning Club.
Tartaria. Exactly, yes, you know, and I think that Tartaria had free energy. I think that they were a free energy empire. So what we're talking about now doesn't even go back that far, you know, 1800s Tartaria, or before 1770.
I mean, there's a whole body list of people who are involved in 0 point energy, free energy, cold fusion, of people who died mysteriously. Car accident, suicide, take your pick. There's a ton of them. And even that list includes the people who researched those people that died mysteriously. We will not be doing any 0 point research here at Paranormal Soup, I swear. We have just guests on. Don't kill me.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, an alien comes down to the White House and tells them, "Hey, I got free energy. We can get you all lined up. Nobody has to have a power bill anymore. You don't have to argue or fight or have wars over oil or any of that stuff. And I'm going to cure all your sick." And all these politicians are standing around like, "But that's how I get paid. I get paid by big pharma. I get paid by big energy. I get paid by big agriculture that wants to poison our food and water. I can't have you do that."
Yeah, and that's why we created the petroleum industry, so that we could create a brand new stream of stuff that can be sold. I just think and this, I don't know, I'm looking into Tartaria at the moment, and it's just fascinating, and it makes you realize, because for my last book, for this book, I studied so many ancient texts, but you actually only have to look 200 years ago. Tartaria were using all of this stuff, which really brings it home that this is very recent. This is actually very new,
What's Tartaria? Because I've heard, describe to people what Tartaria was.
So it's an empire that basically took up 90% of the northern hemisphere. It essentially was Russia, Mongolia, China, around there. And, it's been eradicated and wiped from our history books. And it's incredible, because it obviously existed. We've got so many maps. In fact, Putin, in 2012, 2013, he actually released the maps back into general use, which is why we've now got tons of these maps showing Tartaria. And it was a lost civilization of people. So it suggested that they built all the old world buildings that we see around. All these old world buildings are supposedly all built in the 1800s. They weren't. And you can just look at them and see that they weren't built then. So we're all told, this one was built in 1850. It took, 10 years for people to make, a 9-story, 10-story building with horse and cart and clumsy hand tools. They didn't even have machinery then. It's just obviously not true. So, our history, we've been presented and taught a very, very sort of small amount of our history, possibly that's even incorrect anyway, but it's a very small amount, and a huge amount has been left out. And it makes us think, well, maybe that's why the education curriculum was invented, to sort of throw people off the scent. If you keep them in a very linear progression of historical information, then most people will just go into their 9-to-5 jobs, and they'll never really think about that ever again. If you're, interested in researching of this, there's all this information out there about Tartaria, and you can see from these old world buildings that they were proficient in sacred geometry. They also understood sound frequency, because sound frequency basically makes up our entire reality, which is why people talk about this being a holographic reality, that it's just made up by sound. You can see with the field of cymatics. And, even today, researchers have gone into these huge churches and cathedrals and left just a pile of sand, a sand on a plate. They've gone back a few hours later, and there's a cymatic shape. So that is showing us that as you walk into these buildings, it's affecting the structure of our DNA, because wave genetics shows that everything affects our DNA. And that's what this shift in consciousness is about now. Everything affects our DNA, our thoughts, our emotions, our feelings. Every time we watch a scary movie, every time we watch the news, it's all affecting our DNA and changing us as a species. And I think that's how we've been sort of shut down and mind controlled, and just sort of taken off the true narrative of our history, I think.
They don't hardly even teach history in school anymore to these kids.
No,
They really don't.
No. I think my children, they're taught about World War I, World War II, the rise of Hitler.
Barely.
They're learning about now. And that's pretty much it,
Yeah.
And then before that, it was the Anglo-Saxons,
Yeah.
There's huge chunks missing. And of course, that huge chunk is most likely the Empire of Tartaria. That's when it was there. And it coexisted alongside us. And it was a very, very successful, flourishing empire that had free energy. That the people were obviously very creative. They were tall. It's possibly what we call the Slavs today. So I found a link between the Slavs and Tau Ceti, which is a planet where we can see it's actually got you can see it's got the same sort of atmosphere, so it could sustain life. And there are other planets like this as well, we keep exploring like dead planets if we even go there at all, which I'm not too sure about that.
Yeah.
Rather
I was
than
saying on my news thing
exploring
about us
other
going to
ones.
Mars, because they're saying we're going to go to Mars, 4 years from now? He's trying to push for it to go to Mars, and I have my doubts.
I thought it was like
I have my doubts.
2030.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have my
doubts.
doubts about that. I think that live stream that they're showing, I really think that that's not Mars.
Really?
So
So you think it's a fake?
Yeah, I don't know. I know that Billy Carson talks about how it's real and they're just editing stuff out. I know there's lots of people that sort of showing pieces of, like spacecraft and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe they use both, maybe they use both. But also
There's
the moon
sketchy
as
things.
well.
I will say NASA for years has done sketchy things that make the people go, see, we're flat Earth and there's no space program. It's all fake. They do some sketchy things sometimes. And I don't know if that's to block out UFOs and aliens in the background or what they're doing. But there's some things that seems like it's like production. It's not real. They're not up in space. I get it. I've seen some people call out some stuff that I'm like, okay, yeah, that does seem not right. That doesn't seem like they're actually up in space there. They miss like a cup of glass of water that's sitting there. They forgot to take off the set, stupid stuff like that.
Yeah, according to some research, we're actually not able to leave this planet, which, sort of that's a whole rabbit hole in itself. But,
Right.
the Pentagon discovered that they discovered, that we weren't able to leave this planet since the 1970s. And the last time that we went to the moon was 1969. But then, you've got the research of, it's an Italian guy, I've forgotten his name, but he sort of basically proves that all 6 Apollo missions were not real. That, we can't actually get to the moon with our rickety spaceships that, are so rickety that they can't do anything.
Because the Van Allen belt.
Yes, exactly. And how could there be rocket fuel, going through the vacuum of space? It doesn't actually add up. So, but there's also talk about that we've been to the moon, but we've actually been through portals and jump rooms, as they call them. And I suspect that this is more true because there's an entire chapter of my book where I look at portals and portals on Earth, and we've got hundreds of portals on Earth. And, these portals, NASA even talks about the first portal that they found, which is 93 miles long or something. And it's basically the sun, it links the sun and the Earth. And that's how these solar flares, get into Earth and everything, which I think is affecting also our consciousness here. And what people call, light codes, bundles of data, information coming in, which is also helping to raise the frequency of our planet. Because what I really discovered is that however bad this planet seems, with all sort of talk about Draco reptilians and all these elites and things like this, I do think that we're being helped. And I think, it's probably our ancestors helping us and people from other planets helping us, other humans helping us. We talk about the Galactic Federation, and many people talk about this.
Right.
And even some very prominent people. I think it was the Israeli Minister of Defense or something, the ex-one, yeah. And he talks about the Galactic Federation, how I've been working with them for decades. This is also talked about that the guy that came from Venus, I think he was part of the Galactic Federation. So this is interesting, but you can see that if you see that everything is a hologram, this is a holographic universe, a holographic reality, then you can change the holographic reality using sacred geometry. And so this is what the crop circles are, the sacred sites. They've all got so many geometric shapes on them. And, it's shifting our consciousness, the 13 crystal skulls. This again, they're all working together to shift our consciousness. The amount of light workers, energy workers incarnating onto this planet who are all linking up vibrationally and shifting the levels of consciousness. So everything is shifting, and we can see this with the Schumann resonance, which has doubled in the past 20 years, I think, maybe longer. You can see all of this is changing, and you can feel it. You can feel that there is a shift in consciousness, and this is the movement I think that we need to sort of create now. Is we need to take back control of our planet. We're 7.5 billion people, and we can do this. We have to just understand that our thoughts, words, emotions, and our feelings create this holographic reality that we're in. So we can shift it into anything that we want to experience, and that's what's happening now, I believe.
Well, I've said about this is like, other guests to talk about this shift in consciousness, and there's like an awakening, or there's a change in energy, because you definitely feel it. I've felt it. I see it. There's some kind of shift. Is that when you shift something, you also stir up the dark underbelly of it. Whatever darkness is in there, that you're dark and light. When you're shifting from one to the other, it's gonna stir up some stuff. It's going to stir up some of the stuff you need to face in darkness, and that might be why things are kind of crazy right now, because there's going to be a pushback.
Yeah, certainly we will not be able to, from a vibrational frequency point of view, I don't know, from a reality point of view, but from a vibrational frequency, we have to let the lower vibrations go so that we can raise our vibration, because we all have our own unique frequency, and this frequency can be altered. And I talk about this a lot in this book, and I give people a lot of techniques and meditations on how to raise your own vibration, because we can do it two ways. One, through our emotions. I can now set the intention that I want to sit in the emotion of love, and I've immediately, gone up. My vibration's gone up. But there's also the beliefs, and we essentially are walking belief structures. Whatever we believe, that becomes our reality. And some of these beliefs are not really serving us well. They're keeping us trapped in lower vibrations. They're actually trapped energy in the body. And we need to release this in order to raise our vibration. So what's coming up, is all that childhood stuff, that past life trauma, that abuse, that we've possibly had here for 2,000 years since the Romans. And this is all coming up, and people are having to work on this. But what I've noticed is that some of it we have to work on, and some of it we can just ancestrally clear, because not all of it is our stuff, it's our ancestors.
Right.
So, I sort of say to people, do as much ancestral healing as you can, and you can go to meditations and workshops and do this, because you just need to let it go. You don't always have to work on everything. Some of it's experiences and trauma that we have to work on ourselves, and this is different.
Sometimes you just got to live life. Be humble,
Well, of course.
grateful, enjoy the time you have with your family, because in the spectrum of things, we're just a speck in the eye, man. We're just a quick time here compared to the aspect of 9 billion years, 4 billion years. That's what I say, people. It's like, enjoy your life. Enjoy the people around you. Enjoy the experience. Enjoy the ride, some people are, right now, like I said, we don't get into politics here, but in the last several years, it's all been a lot of division in the media. The media feeds upon our division. It feeds upon our fears. It feeds us into our fears and our division. And we need to be spending time looking for more compassion and understanding for other people, and less judgment on other people. Who are you? Who am I to judge anyone? What I'm saying? Let's just live life, be good people, do good things. Simple.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, everything starts with intention. So if we understand that we're energy beings living in an energy world, everything starts with intention. So we don't have to be perfect. You know, we live in a duality world, and we have, you know, I think, been through a lot of stuff ourselves, but it's just your intention. If you have pure good intentions, then this is the best that you have to do. This is the best version of yourself. You know, just be compassionate, kind. Set the intention that you want to be the best version of yourself. Set the intention that you want to work from your soul's purpose. You know, I always say to people that this is not our only life. This is a very, as you say, this is just a short amount of time, and it's up to us to decide what to do with that time. To quote J.R.R. Tolkien from Lord of the Rings, when he says, you know, ours is not to question, ours is just to decide what to do with this time that we have. And you know, I always say to people, this time, you know, you're going to keep coming back if you want to, or you're going to incarnate somewhere else on a different planet. But you know, it's just a matter of deciding what you want to do for this life. You know, how do you want to show up? How do you want to be remembered? What do you want to achieve? I think everyone has a purpose. We all came here for a reason. And I think maybe, you know, this life at this moment in time is all about finding what that purpose is and then living it. And for many of us, it's simply learning how to be compassionate and kind so that we can grow and move to this next level of humanity, if you like. I see evolution as more of a spiritual thing rather than a physical thing. And evolution, you know, we need to evolve spiritually through the heart in order to get to that next level. Because if the indigenous elders are correct, we've been wiped out 4, 5, 6, 7 times in the past because we turned away from the spiritual aspect, which spiritual, I think, just means energy, heart, you know, it's the higher frequencies, the higher dimensions, if you like, of our world, but the higher frequencies, higher consciousness. And, you know, we haven't been able to sort of just get over that hill because we keep dropping back into, you know, lower dimensions, lower frequencies, lower consciousness. So to get to that higher consciousness, it really is about connecting back to our heart. And I do see with people I work with that many people have traumatized hearts. And for them, it's a matter of, you know, just being kind to themselves, being good to themselves, you know, treating themselves well, doing what they love, not deny, you know, things that they want to do. You know, they haven't come here to have a bad life. They come here to have a good life. Yes, sometimes we have some lessons we need to learn or something that we've chosen to experience, but ultimately life should be good and the struggle is not real. But I know that, you know, when you're in the struggle, it's very hard to see that.
It's hard to see it when you're down in it, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what your friends and family are for, to help you get out of it and realize that. You know, this is the thing, you know, I would try to explain this to my children, you know, about life, and my best advice to them, you know, is to, you know, enjoy your time here. Be kind to as many people as you can. You know, the golden rule, treat others as you want to be treated. You know, these simple things. I think where civilization falls apart is when we get stuck into the survival mode of materialism, and, you know, we forget that there's some other big picture. You talked about past lives before, and you said your daughter was 2, and I had that with my son Liam, my youngest son. He was kind of traumatized, I think, by whatever happened in his past life. We've had him since he could talk, say stuff about a battlefield, being a soldier, these bodies on a hill. We actually, now I'm forgetting the name of the battle. He told me the name of the battlefield once. What was it? It was in Germany, or no, it was in France. Colmar. Okay. It was a battle. It was a hill that the Germans and the French kept fighting over, and he didn't know that history, but he pulled out that name, and he remembers it. But he's had this fascination with soldiers and all this stuff. But he has all this inner anger, and he's always scared. It always comes out during his times of high emotion when he's really frustrated, and he's I don't want to die. I don't want to be a soldier again. But he's still fascinated by soldiers and army and all that stuff. You know, it's like, you know, I have had my own past life visions. I'd say dreams that were like visions where it showed me, you know, I was these other people, and I've always said, how it could change humanity if everybody had a past life dream like I did, but it just makes you see yourself being someone else, a completely different person. You know, have that experience where you realize you're so much more than that ego or that persona that you built and life is built for you. It's not just you who builds it, it's life around you and perception and all that. That you're so much more. You're this watcher, this voice that can be a little black girl or a Buddhist monk or me, because those are the two past lives I had, you know, like totally separate, different kinds of people. It's eye-opening, I think. I felt like I was given a gift to be able to see these past lives. And I think if people were to open their minds to this concept of reincarnation, not in some kind of like dogmatic religious way, like karma and all this stuff, like, you know, or classism or any of that kind of stuff that some other religions have got into with reincarnation, but just the idea that we are something so much more than this, you know, that there's some higher self to who we are.
Yes, absolutely. You know, and it's interesting. I mean, I don't believe in karma, certainly not the religious one of it. But I do believe, I look at it in terms, again, vibrational frequency. I'm afraid it's how I look at the world now after writing my first book. And I see it as levels of consciousness. So I sort of think that, you know, we come back in at a level of consciousness and, you know, we clear that. So each lifetime is a chance to clear. And we can clear all of this stuff, you know, and because I do past life regression therapy. And I can see that it's at the point of death in the past life. So if they've died without clearing, you know, grief or sadness or anger or pain or trauma or something, then they carry this through. And of course, the field of epigenetics shows us that this is true. We do. It actually is carried through in our DNA. And what's so lovely is that when we work on our own epigenetic memories and trauma, we release this, we clear it from our DNA, because DNA is so energetic, you know, it changes all the time, in fact, based on our emotions throughout the day. And, you know, we can see that each life is a chance for us to clear all this stuff. And if we were taught this, and we would know that by the time we get to the end of this life, we have to have dealt with our stuff, we have to have cleared stuff, we have to be at peace. Which is what the indigenous tribes teach their children, you know, we can learn so much from them. And it's all, you know, there is an energetic aspect. That's what shamanism is. It's working with the energetic aspect, the subtle energy fields, and understanding that when we leave this physical body, we don't die. We are still a consciousness. We are still an energy source. We still exist. And the physical body, when we incarnate back into the physical body, the DNA brings, you know, the memories, if you like, back in. So we can clear all of this. And that's what I was saying about ancestral healing. But what's so interesting is the Dogon tribe, who you mentioned before. Mm-hmm. They actually, so I was researching you know, sort of what they were saying, because there were lots and lots of things. There is so much information from the Dogon tribe and what was passed on to them by the Namo, or the Nomo. And one of the things that they did pass on was that they genetically changed us, is what they say. And there are many different races that say that they genetically changed us.
Go back to Sumerian Anunnaki, it's the same story.
Yeah, exactly. So I think possibly what they're saying genetically changed, I think that they added their DNA to us. So possibly, you know, they came here, I think that their planet was dying. It was a water planet. They were amphibian, but they also looked reptilian as well. They looked like both. And so they came here. They wanted to preserve their DNA. They were actually self-fertilizing, but it couldn't always self-fertilize. They still had to have, sometimes they had to have a mate and do it, you know, like, you know, the way that we do it.
So they were asexual sometimes, and sometimes they had to have a mate?
Yeah, so they essentially, they genetically altered an animal, a mammal on this planet, in order to create a host. Because what they used to do, you see, was they used to transfer their consciousness to the new host, you know, the new body. And what they said is that they created what they call the jackal, which is someone that couldn't remember. So they created the physical body that couldn't remember their past lives. But one of the pearls of wisdom that they left with the Dogon tribe is that eventually if we learn to connect to our wisdom and our truth, and we become spiritual, because the jackal, this figure that they also created, also lacked spirituality. And if we can connect to our truth and become spiritual, then we will also become immortal again. And what they meant by immortal is that our consciousness will never die. We'll be able to remember our past lives. And we can see more and more children being born remembering their past life. And according to my research, this is after 2012. So any child born after 2012 will be able to access more of their multidimensional self, more of their consciousness, if you like. And, I found this fascinating because we can get there. And I suspect that there are already people on this planet who can already remember their past lives.
Well,
the
elites.
elites.
Dean was born before 2012, my oldest son, and he had some past life stuff, but Liam was born 2015 and or 16, sorry, and he's the one that has all the past lives. So that makes sense to me, like the past life stuff, and it's still it's like something that haunts him because he'll have dreams where he'll wake up upset because he sees it, and he says now he still sees it in his head sometimes. But these things eventually fade for kids sometimes.
Well,
Or
you're
is it
better
with
off
this next
helping
is
him
it going to
heal
fade
it.
for this? Yeah. Well, what I told him, what I said to him is kind of similar to what you're talking about. I told him when we had a really breakdown. He told me about the Colmar Pocket. That's what it was called, Colmar Pocket. It's a famous battle in France during World War II. He said Colmar. All I know is I hear the name Colmar, and I was like, that sounds familiar. It's a battle. And what I said to him is it doesn't matter what happened there, because what he said is that he killed people and it was bad and lots of people died. He thought, it sounds like he was probably a Nazi, a German. And I said to him, it's all right. Because you know what? When you learn about this, that we've lived all these different lives, we've all been the good guy. We've all been the bad guy. We've all just been a person. We play different roles. It's like going into a book. There's no judgment. We're all just learning. And that also means there's no end, that we keep going. Maybe we don't remember, but in the end, we're still going. We're still living on in some shape or form. That's what I explained to him. I said, so you just have to learn, you have to learn to move on from it, let go of it. You don't want to be a soldier this life, and you won't. You've learned.
Yeah. I don't know how old he is, but as he starts to get older,
he's 8 now.
Okay, so he can, because I think we all have guardian angels. We don't come in alone. We come in with support. So he can ask his guardian angels to heal him from these traumas, these memories. You can also heal him as well. You can ask your guardian angels to heal him and to heal these traumas so that he can function and not have these bad nightmares and things. And, this is all about directing energy. We all have the ability to direct energy through intention, to heal our body, to release what we don't, need anymore. And then when he's older, you can help him explore this, because I think it's important to understand and that everything, we did that experience to learn something. So once the brain understands what it learned and why, it can let it go. But until it understands that, it keeps holding on to it. And this is, with energy healing, this is why many people don't heal, because their brain doesn't understand and it's hanging on to it. Yeah, exactly. So you need to help him just sort of work through, what did you learn? What was that life about? What was the good stuff in that life? And then just help him to release the trauma, release any pain, anger.
Well, I've definitely noticed he hasn't had any of the nightmares since our conversation a few months ago. We had a breakdown about this. So I've been kind of keeping an eye on it and seeing how it is, because I feel like him talking about it and just having a chance to talk about it, because there would be times when he was really small that he'd say, he'd talk about the bodies on the hill. But it's hard for a kid to communicate that. Now that he's 8, we're able to have a conversation, and I think it's helping. I definitely think it's helping to be able to talk about it, be open about it. But you got to think how many kids are out there. Their parents are like, "What are you talking about, kids? Just their imagination," So that's the thing. We got to get people's minds open to this concept, because you're going to have more kids born that are more having these experiences. They need people to help them. But we all are. We all are going through this. I had my past life stuff. My 2 visions of my past life really explained why I'm wired the way I'm wired. And might even explain my relationship to others too. There's things like that. It also is not only you have these they say karma, but you have these ties with other people, and experiences that we might choose to come here to learn. It's interesting, the whole Dogon thing about how they created us to not remember. It makes you wonder, because you talk about holographic universe or the Matrix, but in some sense, people think we live in a simulation. I don't think we live in some side of computer or anything, but it does seem like somehow this whole past life, this whole thing could be set up as like an amusement. Like there's some higher self of us that like we all get to play different parts here and live these really short lives, and then we wake up and it only seemed like minutes, went by. But to us, it was lifetime. It was a lifetime that went, that we experienced.
Yes, and I think for the light workers, they possibly are still back on their home planet, and part of their consciousness is here because they've come to help. So there's definitely some stuff going on this world. For 120 years since the Rockefellers, everything has been engineered. They've been working on mind control techniques for over 100 years. Why is that?
Here you go. I gotta put this one up here from Summerside of Life. The fluoride makes it all go away.
Yes, of course. I mean, lots and lots of things. I mean, there's been all sorts of things done to shut down, our multidimensional selves. But can I just say, just going back to, so the Dogon tribe, they actually, it was an accident. They didn't mean to create the jackal. The female that they created was exactly what they wanted, somewhat a female that they could reincarnate their consciousness. The jackal, they didn't create it right, and they actually tried to uncreate it many times unsuccessfully. So if we can sort of see that maybe this is one bloodline, maybe this is the psychopathic bloodline, because there are many different bloodlines on our planet. We haven't, there may be some bloodlines that, that were genetically altered from an ape, maybe, but there are many different bloodlines here. And we are literally like a hodgepodge, of all sorts of different DNA.
But it's interesting you say like this. I caught the one part you said like this might explain like the bloodlines of the psychopaths, because we can get into it tonight. Somebody mentioned like all the stuff she's talking about. David, I talked about years ago. Yeah, there is something to bloodlines, and it makes you wonder. Like I feel like the whatever you want to call the Illuminati, or whoever's in control, whoever's orchestrating all the stuff to keep us in the dark and keep us away, they got to be psychopaths.
Yes, and they could be the Anunnaki. We don't really quite know who these elites are, these self-appointed people. But what I do feel, and what I have discovered, and this is Benjamin Fulford's work actually, and a lot of what he says, maybe is not quite right, but there's definitely an element of truth to what he says. And he talks about how these there are a group of people who can trace their ancestral line back 26,000 years. And if you could reincarnate down the line, keep incarnating 26,000 years, they know an awful lot. Exactly. They know an awful lot about our planet. Now, you look at the Hopi Indians, the Dogon tribes, the Aboriginal, the Australian Aboriginals, they can trace their lines back 75 to 85,000 years ago, which means that they also know what happened on this planet. So I think they have the answers. From my research, I'm understanding that they do have the answers, but they're not releasing. They're releasing some of it, but some of it they're not releasing because our levels of consciousness are not high enough yet, which shows us that there is a low vibration on this planet. And there are some people who would be corrupt enough to use information in the wrong way. And we only have to look back to the 1950s, when they refused free energy to eradicate poverty and famine and to heal our bodies, and they only wanted thermonuclear. At that time, that's possibly the time when they started to work with the regressive extraterrestrials, because of course there are both. There aren't just, there's regressive ones and benevolent ones. There's more benevolent ones. But maybe that's the time when they started working with aggressive ones. So it means since the 1950s, we've had, that regressive link on this planet. So, I mean, there's a lot of information, and I certainly don't want to scare people. I don't think that this is a scary time. I think this is an incredible time to be alive. I think we all chose to come here for a reason. I think that this shift in consciousness is a massive, massive movement, a massive awakening. It's a really amazing time, and we're moving into a much, much, much better world. And I think free energy is just around the corner, along with med beds, you know, the holographic med beds that heal our body basically through the holographic systems, because we are holographic. We know that we're made of energy. We're not physical beings ourselves.
I think people though do need to be like somewhat aware that there are wolves in sheep's clothing or aliens wearing human skin. I don't know. Are there shapeshifters? Are there people like, you know, controlling things, or aliens, or these families? All I know is that, like the Rockefellers you mentioned came in, they changed, when it comes to this country and the history and everything, they had their hand in all of it, especially in healthcare. I mean, the Rockefellers David Rockefeller came in and just basically wanted to get rid of the whole homeopathic concepts, to create a whole medical industrial complex that we can thank him for, that we would live in now.
Yeah.
But basically, to keep us from actually healing ourselves with homeopathic remedies and stuff like that. No. We have to have a medical system we can make money off of. Yeah. One of the many ways they got to make money off of they can't have free energy because they make money off of that. They can't let us really cure our diseases because they're making billions of dollars off of that. There's this whole industry, and I was really interested in your videos too when you get into like the dragon families. Like you were talking about dragons in one of your videos. So we've talked about that on the show about, the idea of dragons is in so many different cultures that never even touched. We're supposed to have any communication with each other that goes back thousands of years. From all the way from the Mayans to the Chinese, we have this concept of some kind of reptilian presence here on Earth, or the dragon families. So a line of people that trace their ancestry back to some kind of alien entity, dragon-like or whatever, especially like in China. You have it in Japan too, and then you also have it somewhat with an Anglo-Saxon too. This whole obsession with the dragon lines.
Yeah, I mean, dragons have been talked about, on our planet for a very long time, and I do think that possibly what we call the dinosaurs were actually dragons, and we've misinterpreted it, or it's been misinterpreted. Whenever they make a ton of movies about one area, I always start to get suspicious, and of course, how many dinosaur movies are there? And how many kids are obsessed with dinosaurs?
Oh, my son!
Why is
my
that?
son one of his favorite movie series is, and it was mine too, is Jurassic Park. He loves that. He loves dinosaurs. My oldest son. What I explained to him is, though, those are just the fossils. That's 65 million years ago. That's just what meant the fossilized conditions. There's so much that went to dust that we'll never know existed. It could have been a whole civilization existed like ours. It would be dust now. We would never know.
Yeah, but the dragons, they were talked about. So Marco Polo, when he went to China, and he lived in China for 17 years, and in his journals, he talks about dragons being a normal part of society. I mean, yes, there were some living in the hills that were wild, that would sort of eat anyone that went near them, but they were also living in the towns. They were being reared by families, like family pets. They were pulling chariots, and but what's interesting is that they were also used for spiritual union. So I think possibly the reason why dragons have been eradicated from our world and why dinosaurs came in instead, is because dragons had this spiritual nature. They were obviously multidimensional. I think that they've actually gone into other dimensions. They've become invisible in this dimension. There are videos taken in China, showing like dragon outlines and things. And, although some of them I'm sure are fake, you can see, that there is. And when you think about the thermal imaging that they do in Skinwalker Ranch, you can see that we can use cameras to sort of pick up things that our eyes can't see. So again, another sort of proof of the multidimensional aspect, and that we're not just this one-dimensional. But the dragons themselves, the dragon families go back 7,000 years in China. And they talk about, there's one, I forget the names actually, but it's this one member who then became the Genji clan, and he talks about his the founding ancestor. So it was the woman. She mated with a dragon, being, and then from that they had this scaly skin, which he was very proud of his scaly skin. And, he used to be sort of, showing it off because it proved that he came from this lineage, and it was a very important lineage, so where does that come from? There's also, well, you think of the Nomos, the Nomos with the Dogon tribe. The Nomos were half reptilian, half amphibian. If they created a human, then who's to say that that human couldn't have looked reptilian? The Lacerta files that were talked about in the 1980s. And this is where a guy in Sweden, he met with a reptilian peaceful species, a race of reptilians who live under the ground. And, and inner Earth is a whole other thing of itself.
That's a whole other rabbit hole, literally.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, inner Earth, there's tons of people living in inner Earth.
Right.
But anyway, so he interviewed this reptilian. She called herself Lacerta, but that wasn't her actual name because they didn't have the same language as us. Apparently, they've been living there since before us. They were the first species living here. And again, the ancient texts talk about this. I think it's the Vedas. They talk about how there were reptilians when they made them go underground or something. And
there's a ton of that in Indian culture when you want to get to reptilians and stuff. There's a ton of that.
Yeah.
We got to go to our commercial break. We'll be back. We'll open up the phone lines as well. But we need to go to our commercial break. We'll be back here tonight. Our guest is Elizabeth Hancock. She's the author of Human Origins, The Multiverse, and Our Star Ancestry, and also Work Your Energy. We're going to get into more of these topics tonight. A lot of different rabbit holes to go down to. Inner Earth, multidimensional reptilians, all kinds of stuff. Past lives, all about it. Any of these experiences you want to talk about, you've had, or questions tonight, after we come back from this commercial break, call into the show. But we will be right back.
Effects of sensory deprivation and hallucinatory drugs. The subject of the experiment is himself, and the experiment is out of control. Ken Russell's Altered States, a film that must not be missed, is in the West End now. Altered States, Certificate X.
Do you wish for more paranormal and spiritual content? The Paranormal Chronicles magazine is a free digital magazine crammed with the very best in paranormal and spiritual articles and features. No sign-up, no subscription, just free reading and knowledge for you. Read today at www.paranormalchronicles.com/magazine.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Paranation Magazine is a new paranormal magazine based out of Denver, Colorado. Our goal isn't just to give you the best paranormal content out there, but to promote paranormal unity. We're doing this by giving everyone an opportunity to tell their stories and to share their experiences. For more information, follow us on Facebook at Paranation Magazine and soon, paranationmag.com.
I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is the extraordinary travels of a young, alone, and broke psychic in the highly anticipated new book from internationally renowned psychic, medium, medical intuitive, and best-selling author Sherry Dillard. Critics have described I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like as an engrossing memoir, an empowering story of how a broken girl came to accept her psychic gift, a refreshing and fun read. I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is available through Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold.
Wrote Spirits of the Dead with a pen dipped in warm blood. You will see the ultimate in terror with this important all-star cast. Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda in Edgar Allan Poe's Spirits of the Dead. Only Poe's demented genius could bring to the screen such horror and evil. Spirits of the Dead stars Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda. Directed by three masters of the cinema, Federico Fellini, Louis Malle, and Roger Vadim. Spirits of the Dead is an adventure in terror beyond your wildest nightmares. Spirits of the Dead in color is rated R.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
You're listening to Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419 or by Skype caller ID 00JBland00 or JBland Paranormal Soup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight's guest is Elisabeth Hancock. She's the author of Human Origins, The Multiverse, and Our Star Ancestry. Also the author of Work Your Energy. We're going to get into these topics tonight as well. All bunch of different topics, really going down a lot of different rabbit holes here. We're going to get into past lives, multidimensional entities. You know, what last week we had Les Velez on about alien abduction. I'd love to get her opinion on that as well. But maybe you have a question tonight. Phone lines are now going to be open. Call into the show, join the conversation. But let's go ahead and get back to our guest. Thank you for staying with us tonight, Elizabeth. So, yeah, I was just saying, last week we had our guest on, Les Velez. We were talking about alien abduction and that experience for people. I've had some weird experiences myself in that realm. What's your thoughts on that? How does that play into the experiences of what's going on, you know, with people? You know, there's negative alien, you know, there's the alien abduction, there's alien contactees. What do you think's going on there in that experience for people?
Well, it's a difficult one, you know, because there's so many different theories and stories. I really, because there are more benevolent extraterrestrials than there are regressive ones. And in this universe, you know, one of the jobs of the Galactic Federation and the different federations that exist is to actually bring peace. You know, all these different races, species, they want peace. And there's a huge amount of them, you know, there's just thousands and thousands of them. So because of that, and because the fact that our DNA is changing, I mean, this is something, you know, that geneticists, they don't publish this information, but there are some geneticists who are sort of forfeiting their careers, if you like, and talking about this information and the fact that our genetic, our genes, our DNA, it's altering, it's massively altering, and it has done in the past, you know, few decades. And nobody knows quite what this is. I mean, So there is this idea that abductions are actually, if you like, us going to spaceships, in spacecraft, from our families, our ancestors, whatever, and having our DNA altered in order to help us live in this on this planet. So there are many beings who possibly have never even lived in a physical body before. And I would actually say that my son is like this, that for them, they're having to incarnate into this lower vibration, this lower physical density planet, and their bodies can't quite cope with it. So they need to have genetic. Yeah, exactly. So they need to have genetic upgrades. And I think that this is what's happening a lot of the time, is that they're having genetic upgrades. And this is talked about a lot. I mentioned this in my book as well, because there is some evidence out there to show that this is the case. There are some people who are talking about this, that they're working with extraterrestrials. There are supposed to be underground bases where we're working with extraterrestrials, and they're having to tweak the DNA, especially of the children coming in. So this could be one. I mean, what I understand from wave genetics is that they don't actually have to physically tweak our DNA. So this is interesting in itself, because this can actually be done telepathically and, just using frequency.
Energy.
So, yeah. So the fact, that some children are going to spaceships or whatever, it may be that they're going to spaceships to learn something. Maybe they are, connecting with their soul families. And there's a multitude of different things, but I think a lot of the negative ones, have been done by our own people. I really think This is the case. Yeah, because, you look the past 100 years, they're just working on all these weird technologies. There's this secret space program, there's this mind control technology, they're just always working on these very negative, low vibrational things. And so it sort of makes sense that they would do this as well. Why not? I don't think that these people are beyond anything. I think that they're as corrupt as they come. They'll do whatever they need to do, to win the war, if you like.
Well, that's the thing. They'll do whatever, anything they can do to win the war, and it concerns me when they have so much power and things, because when you talk about our DNA and that changing, maybe it's changing for good, we're evolving, but at the same time, I feel like if you look at our food and our water and our air, there's so much toxins that have been added to our environment over the last 80, 100 years, especially the last 50, 60 years. But like in America, we have the worst FDA. They let everything get through. You at least have better probably food wherever you are if you're not in America. But in America here, we're getting so much junk. My wife, as moms out there, they're like my wife, that are super moms. They're awesome. Trying to put good food on the table for their kids that doesn't have red dye 40 or, have bioengineered products in it. It's getting way more difficult. And now we have the FDA allowing them to change red dye 40 to a different name so you don't know it's in the product. Or for me, I can't have aspartame. It's nasty stuff. It makes me sick. And they're changing that to amino sweet. They're doing all these things to put more and more toxins and crap in our food. And now they want to do synthetic meats and bioengineered crap. And it's like, are they doing this to stop this genetic evolution?
They're trying to stop it. Yes, absolutely. They're trying to shut us down. That's what I think. Yeah, but I also think that there are many beings incarnating into this world to help, if you like, to help shift from the inside. So it's not just the light codes, and the Schumann resonance. It's also people incarnating from other realms, other planets, other solar systems. I think that they know this as well. And I think that's why there's such a focus on our DNA, during, this, this period, when we all had to test, and, I know I'm not allowed to say these words on YouTube, so.
Bill Gates might be listening. Oh, no.
Exactly. Yeah. I've had enough of my videos shut down, and Facebook just literally deletes everything that I post these days. So I do think, that was a mass DNA gathering. They got all of our DNA, and so I think that they're hunting for DNA.
It's in the fine print of what that people took that I didn't. You know, you all gave DNA samples. We found that out when the FBI released what was it recently, after the Trump assassination, that they got the DNA of the shooter because it was part of the DNA database collected by what people got during a certain period of time recently that we can't talk about because Lord Voldemort might be listening. Thou shalt not be named, Bill Gates.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that they got all these DNA samples. That they have now an actual national database of DNA samples you never knew you gave permission for. I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't
exactly.
take it.
Because they're looking for certain DNA, okay? And the US even caught, I think, I can't remember what it was, but they were even caught in Russia looking for pure Slav DNA. See, it's that same link, that Slav DNA. And these are the Tartarian people, this is the link to the Tau Ceti. What are they looking for? They were also caught in China. The Chinese were caught looking at the minority groups, and they were harvesting the DNA of some of these minority groups that they don't know where these people came from. They just, appeared. So they have a massive interest in our DNA. And, why is it? Why are they looking at our DNA? Well, they're tracking the changes. There's the golden blood. 43 people in our world have this golden blood that nobody even knows where it came from. And they don't understand why our DNA is changing. But I think it's because from when we incarnate, we're also bringing in DNA from other planets, other solar systems, other galaxies as well, because DNA is so energetic, it's not just this physical lump that we've been led to believe. And so when these different, these other souls are incarnating here, they're incarnating, but they're incarnating into higher vibrational beings themselves. So the mother that carried the child would also have to be higher vibrational. So this has been going on for 2,000 years. And this is what many people say that when, Yeshua came here 2,000 years ago, and he was trying to get people to wake up to the corruption, to get people to turn away from, these elites, self-appointed elites.
He was like the ultimate rebel.
Yeah. And so, in order for him to be incarnated, he would have to, the mother, again, the host would have to be this high vibrational being. So high vibrational being means spiritual being. It means connected to the higher dimensions, connected to higher consciousness, higher frequencies. So this has been going on for thousands of years already. We can track it back 2,000, but it's much, much earlier than that. So, we have these, now the mothers are high vibrational beings. The children are incarnating. They can only incarnate into a vibrational match. If it's too low vibrational, they'll not be able to incarnate into that.
Well, what my 8-year-old son Liam told my wife when he was like 3 years old, when this past life started coming up, is he told her, and I know you guys have heard this story a billion times, but I share my experiences with the guests because we collaborate on what's going on here. He told her, I chose you. And that really, when she told me that, sent, like goosebumps on my skin because, I've told this experience a billion times, but when I was getting ready to move out of my parents' house to get into we were getting married in a week, me and my wife. I had this day, it was daytime. My parents' house is not haunted. I saw this translucent boy walk through my living room, and he's right across from me. There's a couch. He's right over there, and he's just looking at me and smiling. I was not scared. I felt this overwhelming sense of love and compassion. The only other time I felt that is when I had asked for God's help during a entity attack. It was like completely peaceful, and he just faded away. When he was born, when they held him up to my wife, they held him up, and I even took a picture of this. He smiled. He was crying to the moment we put him up to my wife, and he suddenly smiled, and I took a picture of it. That smile right there, I knew that was the boy I saw. And now that he's 8 years old, and this boy was like 9 or 10, I'm seeing the boy I saw in my living room then. So when he said to my wife, I chose you, that was like, yeah, he did.
Yeah, you should ask him why he chose you, what was it
I told him the story. He knows. He knows about
it'll be interesting. But it's interesting. I think everyone should really look for what their soul's purpose is. What did you come here to do? I think a lot of the time, over the past 50, 60 years, it's, as Dolores Cannon talks about, it's the volunteers coming in, people coming in, incarnating. And of course, it's so interesting that since 1900, every 10 years, we've had a major terror which has lowered the vibrations of the planet, shut people down, trapped them inside
Like it's on
illusions of
purpose.
fear. Exactly, it totally is. You know, since the 1960s, when people start, or 1950s, when people start incarnating to help, there's been massive terrors coming in, and many people still haven't woken up because of it.
It's enough to, you know, scare the heck out of you and put you in a mindset of, you know, fear. You don't make good choices. You might gravitate to the believing the wrong things out of, you know, the ideas of survival. I almost feel like these things are done in ritualistic ways. The JFK assassination, 9/11, these things are all rituals set up to do exactly what you said, to put us in a darker energy or frequency.
Yeah, so certainly, you know, there is Satanist ritual on this planet. Absolutely. This is documented in so many different areas. We know that it's happening. We know it's true. We don't necessarily know who's doing it, you know, but we can see the different, you know, like Hollywood and the music industry, and even the Olympic Games.
Well, you say Satanist, and it's what you see is, like, if you get into the secret societies, you know, Skull and Bones, or the places like Bohemian Grove, there's this Mesopotamian worship of Baal or Moloch, or these ancient Mesopotamian gods. So it goes back before Christianity. There's like this Babylonian religion that somehow these secret societies or these elite people have some kind of belief in. So we can qualify it as Satanism. That's like kind of the Christian perspective of it, but there's something deeper, more historical that interests me when they have this worship of these ancient entities. Why?
Yeah. Well, you know, it's this satanic ritual. So they worship, as you say, Moloch, Baal, you know, whoever Moloch and Baal are. I mean, there's different theories. You know, some people think that it's descendants of Anunnaki. Maybe it's, you know, the children.
Because Mesopotamian, that's where we're heading towards, is the Anunnaki in that.
You know, Enlil was called Satan in the cuneiform tablets. You know, we know that the Old Testament, you know, when they talk about Yahweh, this is either talking about Enlil or Marduk. I think Marduk was the crazy one, you know, just had so much anger and bitterness inside him, which of course can twist the best of us.
He was the son of Enel or Enki? He was the son
he was
of
the
Enel.
Son of Enki, but
Enki. That's
yeah, he was very bitter and twisted. And then also the son of Enlil as well, Ninurta or something he was called, and they used to fight. So a lot of the, you know, we can see around the planet there have been evidence of nuclear wars in our past, and you know, even Atlantis itself was possibly the direct energy weapon was used. And you know, who was doing this? Well, a lot of people say it's Marduk and Ninurta who were fighting. Enki's symbol is the Cadeus. You know, the sword with the snake going up, which you see still in the medical world on ambulances.
Yeah.
Which
is like DNA.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Enlil was the eagle, which of course you see everywhere. You know, and you can see Enlil's family. I mean, you look at, you know, the dollar bill. You look at the different logos of all these corporations. You know, and so many of them incorporate the eagle. So they're sort of showing us, if you like, that they are the descendants of these people. And so that's why it sort of makes sense, you know, that they are the descendants of these Anunnaki people. They believe that they own the planet. They were given the planet by Amun-Ra, and he basically, you know, gave ownership, if you like. So we stopped being divine, and they gave ownership to humans, to non-divine humans, as they talk about in the ancient texts. This happened around 3000 BC, and this was the Egyptians. So that again, these leaders.
The King's List.
Yes, well, the King's List goes back, you know, hundreds of thousands of years.
Well, you can see a switch over from the kings being gods to the kings now being pharaohs, people. Like,
yeah,
there's a switch of two different lists, you know.
Exactly.
And you see that also in the Sumerian too, in a sense.
Yeah. Gilgamesh was referred to. He was also, you know, he was referred to not only as a giant, but he was 2/3 human, 1/3 god. And then we got, you know, the first human pharaoh, I think Pharaoh Mena or something, 3100 BC. And so that's, you know, when humans took over, if you like. And there, you know, again, there was so much warring. There's been so much warring around this time. But when you look at our ancient history, we didn't have this warring that we've had now in the past sort of 2,000-3,000 years. There's just been so much, which makes you think, why is that? And is it that humans actually were inhabited by demonic entities? Is it related to Moloch and Baal, that these people, they worship for more power? There's certainly a whole sort of thing going on with the leaders of our world seeking more power, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of them were stupid enough to think that they could get more power from a demonic entity and not think about
It's
the
a question I
consequences.
have. It's something I've been fascinated with, is this idea that, I mean, we once years ago showed a guy on here who was advocating for the power of demonic power to that you could. What was it, Jamie? I know you're talking in the chat room, but what was it? Well, how did he refer to it? We had that guy on. He had a whole video on about demonic. He didn't call it possession. He called it something else. I can't remember. Just make it sound more like nice. But basically, like, you can bring these demons into you. You people wonder. I wonder this about Hollywood. I mean, some of these people have no talent. I don't know how they get popular in music. Some of them. They had sold their soul, and there's a lot of representation of that in Hollywood. But I also think that's a CIA thing. But there's something a lot of powerful people have grasped onto, and I've met people that I swear are. They don't have a soul. There's something else inside them that's not good. I mean, I've been fascinated. My wife hates my fascination with like serial killers and stuff like that. The reason I'm fascinated with human evil. And there's some of these people, they don't have a soul like a human. They have something else inside of them. It's different than what we are.
Well, we do have shapeshifters, and there are definitely regressive ETs living amongst us. There are also benevolent ETs living amongst us, and they're. I mean, I think the reptilians themselves, I think that, well, they don't actually shapeshift. I think what they do, according to Lacerta, what they do is they're able to broadcast into our minds and make us believe that we're seeing a human rather than seeing a reptilian.
It's like the movie They Live with Roddy Piper. Remember that movie? Have you ever seen it?
No.
Ever seen it? Maybe.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
John Carpenter's They Live. In this movie, and he barely could get this movie out. They did not want him to make this movie because there's a lot to say about consumerism. Because there's all these, basically, a character Roddy Piper finds these glasses. He puts these sunglasses and puts them on, and he can see some people are aliens. Takes them off, they look like people. Yeah. Puts them on, he can see that they're aliens, right? And they also can see that the big advertisement billboard, when he puts it on, he can see the actual words are obey or buy, consume. This is the stuff that this Hollywood studio did not like John Carpenter to make. They wanted him to change the movie, and he refused to. Thank you, John Carpenter. And this is one movie I bet they'll never remake. As desperate as they are for ideas, I don't think they'll touch this one with a 100-foot pole, because it really does talk about subliminal messaging and control. I love John Carpenter. It's one of my favorite movies because of that. But in that, it's because they are like sending a frequency. There's like a tower, or a TV station. It was, and that's sending out this frequency to so people don't see the aliens. Not to give the movie away, but
programming.
Right, he shuts it down, and then everybody can start seeing the aliens.
Well, that's very interesting, and I'd love for that to happen. But I mean, even it's now said that the white hats are in control, so the benevolent ETs are in control of this world. And so, but what they're doing is that they're drip feeding. So as much as they could, sort of stand up and say, oh, half the world is aliens, they can't do that, because 75% of the population would have a heart attack and drop down dead. So they're drip feeding stuff, to try and sort of get people to wake up. So, that's an interesting theory, and I like that theory. Whether I see, enough of that happening around me, I'm not too sure. I think that we're still in a situation now where we still have to be working on shifting our own human consciousness and clubbing together, working as a team, and shifting our reality in the way that we want it to go. What world do we want to live in? What reality do we want to live in? What do we want to leave for our children? This is what we need to be focusing on, because what you focus on becomes our reality.
But, like I said, when you start shifting stuff from the surface starts to come up, all that dark, muddy crap, there's like going to be a power struggle. That it would make sense that maybe there has been some shift in power or something's happened, and that's why the world's gone a little off kilter and we've gone a little bit crazy. Definitely, everybody's felt it for the last I don't know, 8,
Well,
10
I think
years.
the world's gone off kilter because all the programs are starting to dismantle.
Right.
And, definitely the TV is programming us, no doubt about it. It's called programming for a start, program.
Right.
And, you can feel sometimes when I start watching, what I think is a nice movie, and then you
Right.
suddenly get this traumatic thing, and you just feel like you've been bombarded by something, and I have to turn it off. And have you noticed that there are no nice family movies ever? They just don't make them. It's all like scary, horrible. All the movies now have just become all scary, horrible. Even the nice ones have got trauma all the way through it. It's just horrific. Either the white hats are doing this to get us off TV, which I wouldn't be surprised because we watch too much of it, or it's the black hats, trying to keep the vibrations down because they don't want us to raise their vibration. They're lower vibrational beings. They will not be able to raise their vibration with us. So at some point, when we get past 4.5D, this is when the demonic entities cannot exist. They cannot exist past 4.3 dimension D or density. And so we are raising now. We're eventually going to raise above their level, and they will not be around us. These are interdimensional beings, which means that they live between dimensions. They don't have physical bodies, and they literally are energetic parasites living off us.
Parasites,
if you have
perfect explanation.
if you have addictions and stuff, it's probably them. Again, ask your guardian angels, your spirit guides, whatever it is, ask them, can you release these negative entities? And just continually keep saying, I do not consent, I do not consent, I do not consent. Because this blocks the programs, it blocks the entities, it blocks all these elites. We have to give permission for these people to do this. And if we don't give permission and keep not giving permission, they can't do it. Eventually, it will just disappear.
I found that out the hard way at a young age. About from 17 to 18, I encountered this dark, what I called shadow person entity that I invited in my life by provoking it at a certain location where I didn't know at the time a bunch of people had died. And this thing followed me home and tortured me for a good 4 or 5 months. I almost lost my mind. It tried to put me in the darkest place, tried to get me to hurt myself or others. It was evil. And other people say, well, it's a demon. Okay, sure. But I want to know more. I'm one of those people who wants to know the inner workings of the universe. I want to see behind the curtain in the Wizard of Oz, behind the veil. I want to know more than just qualifying it as a demon. What was this? And to this day, I still don't know. I don't know what it was. But it opened my eyes, and this is why I do this show, that there are things out there that are affecting people. And what made me open my eyes to is like when somebody does something so horrific that's beyond being a human, where's their humanity kind of deal. It makes you wonder, are they influenced by one of these things? Because that's what this thing tried to do to me. It wanted to, make me do something awful. I want to say thank you to Summerside of Life for the $10 donation on YouTube Super Chat. Like I said earlier on the show, it does help pay the bills. Thank you. We do have a phone call coming in. We want to take this call here. Who do we got on the line?
Hi, Jason. It's Ariana. How are you tonight?
Doing good. Doing really good. I'll say a big thank out to Josh Turner from Paranormal Roundtable for the $100 donation. Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Josh. That's awesome. Thank you, Josh. Wow.
I saw him in the chat room.
Yes, thank you, Josh. Paranormal Roundtable is back, guys. Should check it out if you haven't. You should. If you've been here, you all should know about Paranormal Roundtable. All right. Thank you for calling in. What we got tonight? What do you want to talk about?
Okay. Well, she was talking about dragons before, and I wanted to say some things about my dragons and dragons themselves, what I know, or what my experiences with them, if that's possible. Okay. I had a couple of past lives in Atlantis and Lemuria. I don't know, I've never heard of the world that she talked about, Titania. I never heard that. But in Lemuria, there was a bloodline, and you were the keepers of the dragons, mistresses. It was a family line, and you took care of the dragons from when they were born, let's say, to the time that it would continue after you had passed. And it, like I said, it was a bloodline. It was not anything that you were. I can't think of the right word.
Sorry, it's
that
late night show.
That you wanted to do. This was something in your blood. This was something that you felt you were compelled to do. Okay, and the Atlantis past lifetime, I believe, or my thoughts were that we destroyed ourselves by greed and crystals, and we got greedy with the crystals and the power and things like that, But but today, sometimes, like I said, I have three baby dragons and one big dragon, and they're always with me. They're my guardians. They're always there. And dragons are, I say dragons are real, and they are there, and that's what if she has an opinion, that's okay,
Yes, so I agree. I think that dragons are still very much around. They're still very much here. I think that the benevolent ones have gone into a different dimension, just like the Sasquatch. So we can see the Sasquatch are trans-dimensional. They can they go through portals in the forest and swap into different dimensions. I think that the dragons have done the same thing. So 5D reality is more multidimensional, from 3D. So they're possibly in 5D. I believe that our planet was 5D in the past. Atlantis, Lemuria, this was 5D. For me, Atlantis has always felt more like the technological civilization, and Lemuria always felt like the more spiritual, crystal healing therapies type thing. And I also feel that what we have now is the Atlantean. These are the Atlantean people who are very, very, very interested in technology, and they're pushing the technology. And we can't go down that technological route without the spirituality. So if you like, we have to combine Atlantis and Lemuria. And there are many people incarnating who lived in Atlantis and Lemuria. We need to combine the two together, the spiritual aspect of Lemuria and the dragons, as you talk about, and the technological Atlanteans as well, in order to evolve to this next level. But I agree that there are many people who have dragons as spirit guides. My son adores dragons. He's obsessed by them. I actually am called Blue Dragon by my family. And I also, feel very close to dragons. I think they're beautiful creatures. Really, they've got so much love for us. They're wonderful. And if you get the chance to work with them, they're amazing. They can open your eyes to amazing new insights and different ways of looking at the world.
Yes. The only thing that I might that would need a lot of work when you say that the Atlanteans and Lemurians, that it should get together, kind of. There has to be a balance.
And that's what I mean.
Atlantis for me,
yin and yang.
Yeah, I agree with you. Atlantis, from what I remember, it was technological. It was crystals. It was power. It was all this stuff, which turned to greed. And Lemuria was moreover about nature and helping, I would say helping people, helping nature, helping the world, things like that. And you were in balance with the animals and the things surrounding you, not so much technology like they have.
I agree. And if we could take the best parts of both of the civilizations, that would be perfect. But who knows where we're going to end up?
Exactly. Exactly.
Thank you for calling
Okay,
in.
well, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and have a blessed night.
You
Thank
too.
you. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
You know, it's interesting idea that you have people coming in from both civilizations, maybe, or different ancient civilizations. Remember, Edgar Casey was big on Atlantis and being like from there in a past life, and that the technology and the sense of greed or whatever brought them down. I think that is in our subconscious. It's our fear. You can feel it in our stories we tell, and the way civilization is that we have that fear. You know, it's like embedded in us that we know we've made this mistake before. That's how I feel about it as a society. You know,
I've
it's like our
certainly
fear.
worked. Yeah, I've worked with enough people who feel guilty for Atlantis. They feel like they played a big part in the demise of it. And that's interesting, working through the releasing the emotions around that. I've always felt a stronger connection to Lemuria myself, but I do feel that I was also, there. I mean, the thing is, we've had millions and millions of past lives. We've been everything, and so it's just really sort of tapping into one of the things that I've learned from my own sort of each time I release a memory from past lives, or each time I understand more about my past lives, my personality changes, which shows that a lot of our interests that we have today are coming from past lives. We can release them. We can release all of it. We can become a different person, as Dr. Joe Dispenza is always saying and evidencing with his work.
Well, that's what I told my 8-year-old. When he's, about, I
Exactly.
said, you can let go of it. You can be anything you want to be now. It's a new life, a new beginning. All that's gone and in the past, to let go. And that's the thing too, is if anything, people realize in this world that, we all got to get up, pay the bills, do our life, but it is to realize that no matter what, the time you spend with the people you love is the most important thing. That, that these experiences, that take your time to enjoy the moment. So one of the things I always loved about Buddhism is living in the moment, the now. Is that we're a speck of time here. We have such a small little bit of time for this experience and who we are. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's why I try to remind myself all the time,
It's
because
the
I'm a
journey,
worrywart.
not
I try to stop my
destination.
right. I do that as a mantra to myself to remind myself, because I'm a worrywart, and I try to keep myself from being that worrywart person. Just let go, Jason. Can't
true.
change the future or the past. Right now you can only live in the now. Enjoy this time.
But I do feel that many of us have come here to change things. If you feel like you're a change maker yourself, if you feel like maybe you're someone that wants to break down systems, a bit of a rebel at heart, I think you came here for a reason, and that is to break down these systems. You say that we have to go to
Well,
work,
I'm here
we
to
have
break down
do
some
this.
systems. I'm here to open some people's minds.
We don't have to go to work. Who set up this 9-to-5 corporate world that we live in? Who created money? This is traced back to the Babylonians. This can be, that they're the Sumerians, the Anunnakis. They created all of this reality that we see around us, and they're still creating it today. So we need to break these systems, and that is what this next level of humanity is, and this shift in consciousness. We need to break down all these systems, and I think they're possibly breaking down anyway.
I do.
But we need to say to ourselves, what do we still want to have in our world? And what do we not want to have in our world? Do we still want to have money in our world? Do we still want to have 9-to-5 corporate jobs in our world? What do we want our world to look like? And how do we then go about changing it? There are so many people who are setting up new functions, new systems, new ways of doing things. And the thing is that energy, and this is how these elites have managed to control our world for such a long time, it's all energy. And it's energy pendulums, as Vadim Zeeland calls them. These energy pendulums, we need to create new energy pendulums, leave the old ones behind, create new ones. Where we put our energy, our focus, that is where we then go off, and that becomes our reality. And we can create anything that we want.
And that might be the scariest thing to the people that are trying to hold on to their power. We got another caller. I know who this one is. How you doing tonight, Josh? Thanks for calling in.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Doing good, man. Thank you, bud. Thank you for the $100 donation, dude.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I want to say hi to Jamie, too. See you in there. And I saw Blue Cruise in there and Summerside. They're always in my chat. So hi to everybody.
Thank you, Summerside.
Great guest. Yeah, she's awesome. Great guest. I think that Elizabeth, I don't know you, but I'd like to get to know you and maybe have you come on our show, too, because you're echoing a lot of things that I've talked about on our show. And in fact, I've had to literally fight a war with people and do some cleaning because these people wanted to try to take over my show and make it about religion. And I'm like, look, I believe in Christ, but I'm not, religious, and so I've accepted Christ, but I'm like, there's a lot of truths out there that these people don't want to accept. And so I've been listening to the show. I'm in excruciating pain. I'm having a flare-up of gout. I've been having it ever since the Omicron, and it's horrible. I mean, it's horrible. And so never had it until like 3 years ago, and now I've had it like 6-7 times, along with 3 kidney stones. Ugh. So it's been horrible. And then AFib. It's bad. It's really horrible, but I'm going through it right now, and I know I'll come out on the other side of it. It's just my voice sounds a little shaky. I'm in a lot of pain, but so Elizabeth, I want to tell you, I think you're on the right path, and I really want to get to know your channel a little bit and look at it and check it out, and maybe have you come on. And anytime you wanted to set something up, we could either record or whatever. But Jason, I don't understand why you're not big time. Like your voice is awesome, and I'm definitely a fan of your work. And you've been on my show, of course. I've been on yours, but dude, it's I just don't get it. I mean, you should be like syndicated radio guy, but that's for real. You have so much going on
Speak the
for
truth,
you, man.
They can't have that. No,
That's the truth. That's the real thing.
It's because I'm lazy. No, it's because it's because I'm lazy. Probably that's probably why I don't do enough to promote myself.
You're dedicated, like you're there on Sunday night. Anybody that listens, and I should have promoted you on there tonight. I'm going to start doing that because my show is going to be every Sunday like it was before.
Awesome.
And I'm just going to tell everybody, hey, when you're done here, go to Jason and check him out. I'm going to start trying to remember that. I'm going to text me so I can, because we got to get, we're going to post a link to this in my community tab because, I had several hundred people in the chat tonight, 500, whatever it was. And you should have big numbers because you do awesome work. You're like one of those hidden gems.
A crummy late night slot on a Sunday night, whatever's got to get up early Monday. But that's my time working retail job. But, Elizabeth, is it all right if I give him your email after the show so he can get a hold of you, so he can have you on? It's a great show you should be on, Paranormal Roundtable.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, Josh, I'll send you her email so you can get a hold of her.
Yeah, and you can give her mine. Mine's easy. Josh Turner at PXUpodcast.com. I'll try to post it in the chat. But, yeah, I just wanted to say hi to everybody and just keep up the good work, man. You do an awesome job. And, we are back. It was like 5, almost 6 weeks, whatever. But I just, I was happy. I was content. And I was about to go on Abe Sears' show last Friday. And then next thing you know, he was having technical difficulties. And, we were like, well, we could do it through my show. And I didn't do it. At first, it was like an hour, then an hour and a half. And then I was like, you know what? To heck with it. Let's just do it. And then I just felt something pushing me, go back, just go back.
You got to.
And so I just said, you know what? Right then I made the decision. I'm going to go back on Sunday. But I'm glad that you're always around on Sunday nights because, I am a night owl or whatever, owning my security business. We're always working at night and I got to do the patrol at night, and check on people and stuff like that. But, I definitely want you to keep on doing it. But I'd like to see you get bigger, man. I mean, you really, really have so much to say, and you're back. If you go back and look at your catalog of past episodes, there's a wealth of knowledge there. Paul Wallace is a mutual friend of ours.
Oh, yeah.
He thinks very highly of you, and somebody was messaging me yesterday about the interviews I did with him. He's always popping out bangers. The guy's got tons of knowledge, and he thinks very highly of you, very respectful of you.
Paul Wallace.
And he's awesome, dude. He's incredible. And the people, though, when you talk about this stuff, they get really, like Detroit in the chat said, the people get upset. It triggers them. They get very they don't want to hear this. They don't want to hear this stuff because it blows out their whatever. And so, it changes their dynamics of their reality. And what she was saying about how you grow and change and become another person, that's absolutely correct. When I was 25, I started having past life memories. Like I started going to sleep and waking up. I woke up with my head rolling on a mirror, and I was like, "What in the hell?" I'm standing up on a mirror, leaning up against it. And one of them was a war dream for World War II, and I was a soldier, just like your son, and it was crazy. And I put all the pieces together, and it's a bunch of weird stuff. Like, so I had the same thing that Liam did. I mean, I didn't know that your son had all that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
we got to get together. We got to get either I come on your show, you come on mine, or do both. We got to do it again.
Yeah, we do. It's been a long time, so we need to really get there.
I am doing a Halloween show October 27th. I'm having Katrina Cooper on, but it's a party. If you want to come hang out, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, the 27th. I'll see what I got going on.
Let me know.
Yeah, I'll for sure. But I'll see you guys. Thanks for doing what you do, man. Good work. And Elizabeth, you can give her my information or whatever. I'll get in touch with you. You can get in touch with me. But yeah, for sure. Good work.
All right. Thanks, Josh. Take care of yourself too, bud.
Yeah, you too. I'll see you.
All right, bye. Yeah, Paranormal Roundtable, people, great show. Lots of great content on there. It sounds like he's going to be doing live Sunday nights before our show too, so that's awesome. But yeah, you should definitely consider going on there. Me and Josh have talked a lot about the same subjects we're talking about tonight, all this stuff. And I saw Josh put in there that people get really upset if you talk about Yahweh. Paul Wallace, he mentions a friend of ours that has written extensively, who's a Christian. He believes Yahweh was an alien, not God. Even you look at the how Yahweh is depicted in the Bible, that there's a lot of reference to Yahweh being even like a dragon entity.
Yeah, like a Draco reptilian. I know. So Mauro Biglini, who Paul Wallace worked with, he's been researching, the Bible, for like 30 years. And he not only believes that the Elohim and the Anunnaki are the same, no, it doesn't say Anunnaki, but Yahweh, Elohim, they're all the same people.
Right.
But he talks about Yahweh being Enlil. And, he's a great researcher, so I think we need to sit up and take notice when he says something. And, not take it on as our own, but research it. Everything we should be researching ourselves, because that's what we're here for, to learn and understand more about this reality that we're living in. But I think, there's one part in the Old Testament, which I talk about in my book, that, so Yahweh, he asked to be paid, in gold and virgins and sheep and goats, and it's like,
exactly.
why would he need 32 virgin girls,
Right.
And what's he going to do with them? Eat them, possibly, so.
He's like Smaug, in Tolkien, he is a big dragon that sits on a big thing of gold, like, why would he need gold? Why did the dragon need gold? I'm saying there's a similarity there. One of my favorite movies from the 80s was The Dragon Slayer. And in that movie, they're sacrificing virgins to the dragon. I'm saying? It's this mythology that goes, that's just, why would Yahweh need 32 virgins? And why would he need gold? He sounds like a dragon. Our friend Paul Wallace points out how in the Bible, they talk about how theirs is the real dragon, in a sense, real God that they have, while the others are faking it with mirth and smoke and faking their dragons, not real. I forgot, it was the Canaanites, I think, were faking their dragon. I might have that wrong, but
yes, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't like to use the word dragon for that, because I think it gives the dragons a bad, rep, really.
Well, it could be good dragons, it could be bad dragons,
Exactly.
Like people.
But I also, think that obviously this Yahweh was a speaking one. Can dragons speak? Maybe they can, or maybe it's Draco reptilian, which look like dragons at the end of the day, with their wings, their huge, thighs and everything. So, I don't know. There's just so much to explore, so much to
We're talking about could be, people think of aliens and other planets, but we're talking about something that could be extra dimensional and other entities. I
Yes.
mean, you talk about Bigfoot being, extra dimensional, maybe. And we talked. Josh is very much Turner from Paranormal Roundtable's got a lot of experience when it comes to like Dogman. And that's always been interesting to me because Dogman and the relationship to of like ancient Egypt of like Anubis. A lot of time Dogman's seen near cemeteries or burial mounds, Indian burial mounds, graveyards in a sense. Anubis in Egyptian lore was, the guardian of the dead. It had to do with the afterlife a lot of the times. And what was he? A dog-headed creature. That, and there's other cultures that that you talked about the jackal. And the Dogon, like there's something to do with this kind of hybrid or interdimensional creatures that are animal-like in a sense coming through humans.
I think that there's many hybrids, and we have to sort of look at this really and take it seriously. That there's so much talk of hybrids in all of our sort of ancient texts, and so we need to ask ourselves, what does this mean? What are they talking about here? Now I know that a lot of people say it's just a spiritual way. Using the head of the ibis for Thoth is like supposed to be showing that he's high in wisdom and everything. But is it all just that? I mean, who knows? I think that the fact that our DNA is changing, the fact that there's so much talk about genetics and DNA, the fact that that they're obviously researching our DNA and trying to understand more about who we are as a human species in itself. That we've obviously got multiple genetics in us. So, does this mean that we were hybrids, that we had hybrids in our world? I mean, I think so. This sort of mad scientist, like sort of playing around with genetics and creating all sorts of different clones and different beings.
Dr. Monroe's Island.
Yeah, they're doing this today. As much as they say they're not, they can do cloning. There's a website now that offers cloning, and it even says on the website that they clone celebrities, politicians, and anyone who wants to preserve a loved one. What does that mean exactly?
Yeah.
So, and then were they able to do this in the 1950s? Yes, if they're working with regressive technology, regressive extraterrestrials, they were able to do this cloning. Anunnaki, were they cloning? Possibly. If they were advanced species, extraterrestrial species themselves, I'm sure they could do cloning. I'm sure they could do genetic engineering. We can see that our DNA itself has been genetically engineered 200,000 years ago. Who was able to do that 200,000 years ago? I think we have to look at, the Anunnaki that I talked about in the Sumerian tablets, cuneiform tablets. Who else? But possibly we had many, many, many different extraterrestrials. So in our ancient texts, they talk about the El. You have the El of the mountains, the El of the sea, the El of the wasteland. Today we have the Elites. So we have the elders of Zion. El means God.
Elohim.
So, exactly. So, God. So we obviously had multiple gods. At some point on our planet, what happened to them? Who are these people?
Well, people treat celebrities like they're gods now. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
I mean, look at the way we treat, even our politicians we make into godlike celebrities and the stuff like that. We do exactly what they, they said, don't make false idols, but we got plenty of those. We got plenty of those now.
Yeah, and we worship people who have a lot of money as well. So,
Right.
we are, humans have been, maybe genetically altered or programmed to worship, to be worshippers. I know that Billy Carson talks about the worship gene and how they discovered the worship gene. But when we understand the true nature of genetics and wave genetics, we can see that it's really just a habitual habit. The more we do something, the more we create DNA.
I don't think I have that gene.
That is that. No, I think I've got the rebel gene. Maybe you have as well.
I always rebel against the idea of worshiping something. I believe people should humble themselves though and be grateful for their things, and if anything, in a religious, spiritual sense, when it comes to God, ultimate force, that I'm just a speck in the universe compared to the Almighty or any a higher power. You should be humble and grateful, but at the same time, I'm not here to to come down and get on my knees and worship. I don't see that. I don't think that's what they want. I think God or the ultimate power or force or whatever you want to call it wants me to grow and be a partner.
Yeah. Well, I think God is a consciousness, you know, and actually we are also consciousness. We're all part of the same energy field, unified field. So whatever God is, we are also God. That same consciousness lives in us. It's consciousness that animates the physical body. So it brings it to life. So you could say that our consciousness is our soul. So essentially, we are all creating this, you know, this multiverse together. And I think the extraterrestrials know this, and they've learned how to harness and tap into consciousness. And we just haven't, because we've been too busy fighting, and we haven't focused our energies on looking at, you know, what this world really is and how we can use technology in a positive way to enhance our world. Whereas the inner earth people have been doing this for thousands and thousands of years. Their technologies are incredible, and they've been very focused on positive growth and spiritual growth. And because of it, you know, they live really long lives. They don't even eat anymore. You know, they or some of them do. You know, they live on these plants, but they live on this sort of this elixir of life, if you like, this sort of this drink. They have all sorts of different technologies, these high-speed trains that connect their cities up. You know, I think looking at them, we could see how our civilization could be if we could just stop fighting and warring and blowing people, you know, each other up. This pitting us against each other has been going on since the time of Yahweh, because that's exactly what Yahweh, the Anunnaki, were doing.
Right, exactly.
We've always been their fighting machines, and it's programmed into us to fight on behalf of leaders and kings and queens. But we need to stop doing that, because we're all the same. We're all equal. We're all fractals of source. We're all fractals of God consciousness. No, nothing is better than anything else. Even ascended masters are not better than us. They're just more spiritually evolved than us. That's all.
Just another part of us.
Yeah. And, you know, we really just need to, you know, put down our weapons and just see what an amazing world we can create together if we just work together and get rid of these psychopaths from our world.
I love that you call them psychopaths, because that's what I call them.
Yeah.
Totally
Parasites,
disconnected from humanity. Parasites,
totally.
yeah.
Very low
Like
vibrational.
the shadow thing that you know, the other thing I felt like that shadow person experience that I had, it was a parasite. It's what I've always called it. It fed off my fears. You know, it fed off even my anger. It fed off all the primal negative emotions it wanted to elicit out of me, because it knew everything about me. It opened my eyes, and the one reason I do the show is to give people that have had that kind of experience, and others that they have a place to talk about it, because you know, you're not alone. There's all things under heaven and earth exist. And there's crazy things going on around us all the time, but people don't even realize. We got to go to our last commercial break. We got about less than a half hour left of the show with our guest tonight, Elizabeth Hancock. We'll be right back. Just wait to call in until after the commercial break if you're going to call in, because I have the phone lines down until we come back. So we will be right back after the short commercial break.
Intercepted transmission of unknown origin.
Transmission? Out here?
SOS.
Human.
Unknown.
Alien. Certificate X. Exclusive engagement at the Odeon Leicester Square. Now.
Any systematized transmission indicating a possible intelligent origin must be investigated. I will hear it.
In space, no one can hear you scream.
If you are interested in discovering the truth about the paranormal and want to hear from leading researchers in the field, join Justin Brown on his 3 weekly shows named My Paranormal Soapbox, Necromancer Live Show, and the Supernatural Symposium, live on Facebook, YouTube, and
This is an APAC studio presentation.
Hi, I'm Barry, owner-operator of Barry's Barometer Barn.
Lately, I bet you've been lying awake at night asking yourself, how many barometers do I really need? Well, at Barry's Barometer Barn, we think you need more than one. Otherwise, we're gonna go out of business. Remember, at Barry's Barometer Barn, we don't know the meaning of high-pressure sales. Come on, folks, buy another barometer. I'm trying to put my kids through college, I've got a family to support, and a secret mistress who isn't cheap.
Visit Barry's Barometer Barn, 000 Storm Drive. Come on, folks, buy a barometer. I'm Barry's older brother, Larry, and every time one of you people walk past the store without coming in, Barry beats me.
This has been a presentation from Tim Morgan's APAC Studio. For more almost professional amateur comic studio content, visit the APAC YouTube channel. Search APAC 2002. That's APAC 2002 on YouTube.
When Alex Gardner is asleep, he has an extraordinary gift. The government wants it, the scientists want it, but to keep it may cost him his life. It might be better if Alex didn't sleep at all, but he cannot resist entering the dreamscape. Can you? See Dreamscape in the West End and all over London now. Certificate 15. It takes an extraordinary adventurer to enter the dreamscape.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hopson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Heat 'em up. Do, re, he gone.
You're listening to Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419 or by Skype caller ID OOJBland00 or JBland Paranormal Soup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight's guest has been Elisabeth Hancock. She's the author of Human Origins, The Multiverse in Our Star Ancestry. Also the author of Work Your Energy. We should get into that a little bit tonight, what we can do to use energy to heal yourself is one of her topics. We have it we can get into more, or manifesting. holographic universe. There's so many topics tonight with our guest, Elizabeth Hancock. She's been excellent. Thank you to the donations from Josh Turner and Sunny Side of Life. You guys, awesome. It helps pay the bills for the show. You can always donate on YouTube, Super Chat, or find us on Patreon. The link is in the show description, but you can find it in Jason Bland, Paranormal Soup. We got a lot to get to and a little bit of time left, so let's go ahead and get back to our guests. So Elizabeth, we talked a lot about your new book coming out and all that with the Human Origins, Multiverse, and Star Ancestry, but you have this other book is to work your energy and about like self-healing and using energy. Do you have practices or places for people to, what's your idea for helping your people use this energy or self-healing energy?
Well, I think the first thing, and I know, they talk about, sort of spiritual practices. I mean, I think the word spiritual is actually advanced physics, and but I can see that we live in a frequency universe, and it's better for us to stick with the higher frequencies, not the lower frequencies. So I think that's sort of how I see it. That it's all about what we say, raising our frequency. But it's actually expanding our consciousness. So it's both. So raising our frequency we can do through emotions and feelings. Expanding our consciousness we do through working on our belief structures, learning, educating ourselves, self-development. And, I sort of see that we are a vibrational frequency, but we can change that. And that's how we create a better reality for ourselves, is raising our vibration so we can link with the higher frequencies, higher consciousness, if you like. So I don't think we really quite understand what space is. I think it's probably dimensions, like pockets of dimensions upon dimensions upon dimensions. And, who knows if this Earth is even as we think it is. I know that there's a lot of researchers, including some very good scientists, who are saying that everything is a toroid field, including Earth, which is that sort of donut shape. And so everything is a vortex. And, the heart is also a toroid field. The human body is a toroid field, which really takes us into looking at, the human body is a vibrational frequency existing in a vibrational frequency. So everything is about our own frequency. And I think, this is what levels of consciousness, what we call karma, is. Changing our frequency, shifting our frequency, and becoming the best version of ourselves, if you like. And I think that's what life probably is, becoming the best version of ourselves, just moving and following the heart, following compassion is a good compass, I think. But I also teach intuitive development, and I think that this is also very important, because I think there's a reason why we've been shut down from this, and it's also been put into the, the Hollywood movies have put it into the lunatic category, everyone, and sort of insanity, it's actually just us. We're energetic beings, and we're already attached and existing within the subtle energy fields of, the electromagnetic field. Everything is sort of electricity, electromagnetism, and probably paranormal is electromagnetism. So I think it's all just advanced science that we just don't understand yet. And the intuitive aspect, is first of all believing that you are intuitive. Secondly, it's getting to know yourself. This is the number one important aspect. Whatever you do in your life, you have to know who you are. And we've also been, exactly. We've been blocked from this as well, because once you know who you are not. So then who is you and who is the negative entity that's, deciding that they like drinking coffee through you. And who is, what are your values? What are your beliefs? And I actually have a free energy mastery course on my website, which I'll send you the link for. It's a 4-week course, and it's going to walk people through just the sort of the fundamental aspects of understanding who's your energy and who's someone else's energy. Half the time We're taking on other people's emotions and thoughts as our own. We don't even know that they're not our thoughts.
Right.
You know, when you get this like random thought popping into your head, you need to know that it's not you. It's someone that you just quantum entangled with, you know, walking down the street, and you've got their stuff in your head. So this is really important. So when you get that, you need to continually keep clearing your energy space, setting protective boundaries around you. And I don't want to scare people or put fear, because fear is low vibrational, it brings you down. You've got to keep your vibration high, but you still need to protect your space, because we're living in, you know, a world where there's duality. There's, you know, like there's 10% of psychopaths, first of all. You know, you don't want to be quantum entangling with them. So this is very important as well. And, you know, and just understanding more about your own subtle energy. And the more you do these intuitive development practices, the more you will connect back to your completely normal and innate psychic self, you know, intuitive self, the supernatural, as they call it now. You know, the super conscious mind is now what they call the higher mind, because there are many scientists who are understanding that this stuff is real. It's normal. It's who we are. We've just been told that we aren't this. That's all it is.
I think that's a big important thing, is the know thyself. To know, so many people are going through life in almost a hypnotic zombie sense. They don't reflect about, they just react to their emotions, to what's their inner dialogue and emotions. They don't contemplate, where did that come from? Why did I react that way? Why do I feel this way? They don't contemplate any of these emotions, so they don't understand that they're being bombarded by either maybe picking up on somebody else's emotions or the vibrations of what's going on around them, or their past life influences that could be coming on to them, or other things. So many factors, but there's no reflection at all. People just keep going ahead. They don't reflect. They just react. I mean, a lot of what happens in the media is preying upon that, is your instant knee-jerk reaction to things, instead of reflecting on, why do you feel this way? Where does this emotion come from? Why did I do this? You know, these kind of like inner like reflections. I think meditation is very important for, to like, and you know, not to like sit there and analyze everything you do in your life or anything, but just to reflect on, why do you feel the way you feel, instead of just feeling it.
Yeah, it's constantly observe yourself. We have to constantly observe ourselves. And we do this, you know, from the higher mind. You know, your higher mind basically is connected to the multiple dimensions that you probably exist in. And, you know, we're currently in this dimension, but we exist in many, many different dimensions. And many of our spirit guides are actually us in other dimensions, us in other forms, you know, the archetypes of the mind, if you like. So it's learning to connect back to, you know, this superconscious mind, back to the full expansive you. And that's a good actually marker, is that you always need to feel expanded. When you feel contracted and small, that's low vibrations. You need to feel expansive and, you know, and warm and, you know, just sort of connected to your heart. That's the higher dimensions. That's where we need to be. But yeah, you know, just thinking about what you were saying then, and you know, we you know, whatever triggers you, this is an absolute perfect thing for you to now work on. You know, what makes you angry? What triggers you? Sometimes they're core beliefs. You know, like justice, like injustice, really, really, really triggers me. It makes me so mad. But I've understood now, this is a core belief. It's who I am. It's a fundamental part of me, and I'll always be this. But it could have been that I was being triggered because, you know, maybe I was treated badly in a past life, and, you know, I have this wound in me. So everything that you get triggered by is a wound, and it's a wound for you to work on. And you can do it very easily by using automatic writing, journaling. So when you write from your hand, you're actually connected to your subconscious mind, which holds all the information about you. You know, your energy field holds all the information about you. And your subconscious mind is the energy field of the body, and the conscious mind is the energy field of the brain. So, you know, we can access any of this information. This is quantum entanglement. It's how psychic stuff works. So you can intuitively read into someone else's energy space because you're quantum entangling with them, and you're picking up on their, you know, beliefs, traumas, past lives, whatever it may be. So we have all the tools to hand. We really do, to be able to work through this stuff, but we've never been taught it. That's the problem. And, so yeah, automatic writing is fantastic. And you have to keep writing until you feel you can't write anymore. And then you have to still keep writing, because that's when all the perfect stuff comes out. That's the stuff that you really, really are not able to access with your conscious mind. And it's the subconscious mind, the magic of the subconscious mind, I always say, because that's how we're interacting with the different frequencies around us. The brain is a receiver and a generator of information. It's receiving information from the field all the time. We then translate that. The brain translates it, or the analytical mind translates it, and sometimes it translates it incorrectly. But it's receiving this information. When we get creative, aha moments popping into our head, this is coming in from the field, coming in from the collective, coming in from the energy fields. And it's understanding all of these aspects about ourselves. And I think that this can really, really help you to become a much better version of yourself. You'll be happier, more successful. This is how manifesting works, and you'll be living the true human adventure, and not, the dumbed down one that we've all been stuck in for such a long time.
I love that, the dumbed down one. But yeah, no, I mean, I used to be in a band. I used to write a lot. I'm trying to get back into music. I'm trying to get back into writing because I feel like I need that creative outlet. I swear, like my songs, the lyrics would predict stuff that would happen later in my life. The writing I used to do as stories would kind of predict. Actually, I swear to God, as a little kid, I would come up with story ideas that now or later big Hollywood blockbusters. I swear, there's these, there's so much when it comes to human creativity that you channel, or the muse, the idea that you're tapping into something that's beyond you. But it's a part of you. You're finding that inner workings of yourself, or your soul, your higher self, that you need that outlet. Be it automatic writing or something to let it, open up and discover.
Yeah,
Really
singing, music, sound frequency is a really good one, and that's why this whole music industry with this just terrible music, it does my head in. It really does.
My wife sent me a picture the other day of my soon-to-be 13-year-old son. Well, she bought a CD player for some learning CDs for math for my youngest son, and my oldest son went and found my old CD collection, all the stuff from when I was 16, 17, 18, 19. All of my music collection was listening to it, and I'm like, that's when music used to be good. I feel like
that's when it was music. Yeah, I mean, what they're pumping out now, it's totally designed to bring your vibration down. And I always say to my kids, right, before you listen to anything, ask yourself, is this energy good for me? Does it feel off? Because the kids these days, they're so intuitive, they can see and sense everything. And they've got really good discernment, something which, again, because we were dumbed down, we don't have discernment anymore, but we're getting it back and we're learning it, and intuitive development helps you get that back. But the kids these days, they know instinctively what to keep away from and what to, sort of stick with. And I always say to them, check in with your energy. Ask yourself, does this make me feel good or does it make me feel bad? If it makes me feel bad, and crazy and headachy, or it makes my vibration go down, then don't go near it. It's not for you. Yeah. So I think, we need to be teaching our kids this these days. And they're very good. They pick it up and they don't get scared or anything like that. They're just like, yeah, sure. Okay, fine, whatever.
For me as a musician, not much of one anymore, but just everything's overproduced music now. It's all like one level. There's no melodic tones or ups and downs or feels to it. There's no emotion. There's no albums anymore of great art like Pink Floyd's The Wall, stuff like that. There's nothing like that anymore. It's like one-hit singles or whatever. I see these kids wearing all these Nirvana shirts. My wife works at a middle school, and she'll tell me about seeing kids with Nirvana shirts. Half the time they don't know what Nirvana is. They just like Kurt Cobain's art that he used to do. But I always thought about this because I was a kid that grew up in the 80s, saw the hair metal bands, and then Nirvana came along. Now, Kurt got very dark, and obviously he had a dark ending. But the reason I always thought what's interesting about that period of time of grunge, this is, yes, I'm 45. That was my period of time of music, you know, is that he came in nowhere near like having the talent of like, you know, Eddie Vedder or not Eddie Vedder, Eddie Van Halen on guitar, or, you know, the big hair bands, all that stuff. But why Kurt suddenly was so popular at that time, Nirvana blew up in the scene, because it was like pure, raw, emotional music.
Yeah.
He spoke from the soul. As dark as his soul might be at the time and the problems and issues he had, he spoke truth from the soul. You could feel it in the music, like old blues songs would speak to people, or jazz. These things that, and the original rock and roll music spoke, you know, was creative, like back in the 60s. Well, we had all this year of mass-produced crap music in the 80s, a lot of hair bands and stuff, not to knock, you know, the hair band fans, but when he came along, there was that honesty, and I swear I'm seeing these kids pick up on that energy field, in a sense, like it's its own energy field of music. Like we're such at that point again, like the glamour hair bands of the 80s and the big rock and the big mass-produced crap, that these kids are slowly, they're picking up back on that old Nirvana stuff. I actually ran into kids that had the shirt on. She said, "No, I love the music. I'm a huge Nirvana fan," you know, because it was just something that came out that was more honest in a time of music was just completely controlled and not real, you know.
Yeah, and maybe it resonates with their soul. Maybe it resonates with what they're going through in their life now. You know, like you, yeah, exactly. And like you were saying, music was creative expression. Music should be creative expression. That's exactly what it is. You know, the human physical body is a creative. You know, we are creators, and we're constantly creating, constantly. And that's the bit that we've been, you know, that's been kept from us. We have created this reality, but of course, you know, it's been shifted along to look like the reality of, you know, of the elites or the deep state or whatever. But we're constantly creating all the time. We're manifesting, and you know, so this planet, if you like, is a creative planet. You know, it is where we create, and the soul wants to create continually. But they've stopped this. You know, look at the movies now with CGI. You know, It must be so boring being an actor now. You don't get, you know, to live out the scenes and live out your fantasies, you know, on a movie set. It's all,
or you're just remaking a movie that's been made already 3 times before, because they don't have any more ideas.
Yeah, but this, you see, this shows who they are. If they don't have ideas, they're not human. They're low vibrational. You know, we are generators of ideas. We're creatives, and you can see in the online space, there's tons of creative people. There's tons of creators. But, you know, the ones who are in charge of the movies, of the TVs, of the music, these are not creative people.
No.
Or if they are, they've been told, no, you can't do that. You have to stick to this. You're
it's about
only
risk
allowed to
reward.
do horror movies. Yeah. You're only allowed to make horror movies, you know, about being stuck in the depths of the ocean, or, you know, or being alien invaded. You know, they have these like set topics that you're only allowed to do, which again proves that they're keeping this world low vibrational. It proves it.
Well, it just proves their lack of imagination, because they like. I was explaining this to my kids because we're going to go see Beetlejuice 2 tomorrow, and I was talking about, you know, I'm a big Tim Burton fan. I said what made Tim Burton, Beetlejuice, and that so successful at that time, because there was no other movie like it. It was its own original idea. It wasn't a copy of anything. You know what I'm saying? Like nowadays, everything's like a redone of something else, you know, like a recopy of this. I mean, yeah, we got to make Beetlejuice 2 to make some money because we're out of ideas. But I mean, the original Beetlejuice and that, what Tim Burton did is nobody was doing a movie like that about the afterlife and coming up with his own concept and ideas and doing that. Like, you know, that it was original. It was a whole idea. You don't know who Beetlejuice is. You know, he doesn't have to explain it to you, you know. People, my kid sitting there still doesn't understand it, but they love the movie. It was an original, creative idea. How often do you get that in Hollywood and movies anymore? Rarely.
I think there are many creative people, but I think they're dictated to as to what movies they can create and what they can't create. So that's why they're having to, you know, create number 2 and number 3 and number 4, you know, of all the same stuff again and again and again. And I feel sorry for them, because I know that as a species, we want to create. It's a fundamental part of us. We want to express our creative channels all the time, you know, and not to be able to do that must be really, really hard for these people.
Yeah, I mean, you go to some executive and try to sell them an idea for a movie, and they're like, well, what can you compare that to? It's when they can't compare it to anything, you got a gold. You got a moneymaker. But they don't get that. They think you have to compare it to something else to understand it or to sell it. But when somebody comes with something completely original, they're like, "Oh, well, no, that's not been tested or true. We can't invest in that." That's why I think as Hollywood and TV and all that stuff's going on, it's gotten worse and worse because they get more fearful of like giving a chance to some kind of creative new idea. They keep rehashing the old stuff because they would think, well, that's proven to work. That's going to make us money. Again, money. That's the beauty of the internet. Technology can be a great thing because people are out there getting to produce their own stuff. And you talk about actors, how poor it is for them is that now they can just digitally recreate an actor or not even have an actor, make a whole digital creation. Soon they won't need actors. They can
and they already are.
Yeah.
They already are. Look at Netflix. Look how many of these celebrities suddenly all came back from nowhere. They've all suddenly made a movie. They all look different. I don't know why that is, but I'm not the only one talking about this. The first 2, 3, 4, 5 pages of Google, people are typing in, why do actors look different? Why do celebrities look different? So whether these are different people or they've done this on purpose, to create more fear, who knows? But
I think they're selling their likelihood, and Hollywood's just able to use it now. Not even have to use the actors.
Disney just got sued big time for Peter Cushing because they recreated him a while back in Rogue One. He played Grand Moff Tarkin as a character he played in the original Star Wars, and he's been long since deceased. And they recreated him, but I guess one of his a close friend of his, it was like family, is suing, saying that they never got permission from the estate to actually reuse him like that. Now that's going to be the big thing in Hollywood is digital rights to your identity because they can totally recreate you and make you and keep your character. You died years ago, but they can keep your character going in movies forever.
Yeah, well, I think it was Jack Black that said that, wasn't it? He came out and said, I have to do what they tell me because they can just, CGI, they can just recreate me as an AI. They can bump me off and I'll still be in the movies, but I won't be here. I'll just be an AI. So, I think that says it all, really.
And then the other sense is that my wife has gotten into that, down that rabbit hole, conspiracy theories. Are they replacing them with clones? There was a movie. I always refer to. I'm a big movie guy. I went to film school, so I'll admit I watch all the crap movies as much as anybody else. But there was a movie of Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the day called 6 Day. And in that, the whole concept of that movie was like, for instance, a football player gets severely injured on the field. Is pretty much never going to be able to play again, and they end up getting him in the emergency room and whatever, and they kill him because they had a clone waiting to make so he can go right back. Oh, he was barely injured. He can go right back on the field because we got millions of dollars invested in this athlete. So we paid millions. We paid money to have him cloned, and it's in our insurance policy if he gets injured. It makes you wonder, if they have that technology to do that.
Well, we can clone. We've been cloning for decades. I mean, it's just whether or not there's someone corrupt enough to do it, and I think we all know the answer to that. So, they can do it if they want to. I mean, it's difficult to know with Netflix, it really is. But, you can just see that it's the face changes. And 1 minute it looks like them, the next minute it doesn't. But it's all CGI and you can't sort of,
Are they really there acting or are they just CGI-ing the whole thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe they just decided to use AI because it's cheaper. They don't have to pay them anymore. Who knows? But,
There's a Cascade commercial that's like that where they look completely like AI actors. They don't even look real. And there was a Progressive commercial that I swore was not really Flo. And I tried to look it up. I couldn't find anything on it.
They're replacing Flo.
I think they did. Yeah, I don't think they used Flo. Or they used it.
Yeah, I mean, it's coming. If it's not happening yet, it's coming because I mean, I got in my early days. I went to college for film and computer graphics and CGI, and so I know where it's come from and where they're at now. I mean, it's pretty much there. They can do it. They definitely can CGI and replace somebody, and you wouldn't know. They're getting there.
Yeah, I mean, the questions, of course, are, why, who, what, these are the questions. It's probably not as we see it. There's probably reasons for it behind it, but we want to understand what are those reasons. And
China is actually running CGI AI news anchors. They're not real people. They actually started doing that.
Well, that's
And
interesting.
soon to come to America, I bet. You know?
Yeah. This is interesting. I mean, I hope it will just, stop actors from going into that field because I know that my kids say to me, well, God, I wouldn't want to be an actor when I've got to stand in a green room and just, say stuff. Like, who would want to do that? So it's going to stop the good actors, wanting to go down that route, and they'll stay in theatre and won't go down that Hollywood movie route. And it will just be, the insecure ones that want fame. The reality TV, they just want fame and they're happy to sell their soul
Don't get me
out.
started on reality TV.
It's just stupid. Reality TV, it's so silly, isn't it? It's just totally pushed that whole fame button and everyone wants to be famous. And when you explore that with your own children, you say, well, what does famous mean? Why do you want to be famous? What's the need in you that wants you to be famous? And of course, it's insecurity, it's childhood trauma.
Oh, look at all the
comparison. Not being good enough, not feeling good enough, so they have to, prove themselves.
Well, look at all these. Yeah, well, look at all these, especially nowadays, the celebrities, how insecure these people are. You can feel it. You can see how insecure they are.
Yeah.
Most insecure people are the ones that are most boastful and egotistical. Are usually the most insecure people. It's a front that they put out.
And that comes from childhood trauma. So you think about, okay, well, so why are we still traumatizing our children? Who's benefiting from this? Why is it happening? And how can we change this? And, like I'm always saying, we can change this. Don't traumatize your children, You don't have to be a perfect parent. I'm far from perfect, but you do have to make sure that you tell your children that you love them 100 million times a day. Yeah, you have to be kind. And when you lose your temper, you need to say sorry. You need to explain what happened because they can learn from you. You need to have integrity, be genuine, honest with them. You don't have to be perfect. And insecure people think they have to be perfect. And that's the problem.
Exactly.
But there's no perfection in this world. You just have to be a compassionate, kind, caring person. And when you get something wrong, you need to own up to it, say sorry, and explain it. So your children are always learning through you.
I agree with that 100% as a father. I just recently screwed something up financially, and I even told my children, don't make dad's mistake. Don't do that. And when especially why we didn't want to spank our children or do that. We're disciplined with our children. It's not let them do whatever they want, but I'm not going to teach them. Oh, I'm going to react in anger by hitting you.
No, of course not. I don't think anyone hits their kids these days.
Right.
I think we need to remember that we are the adult and everything is an opportunity for teaching. Everything.
Exactly.
Everything that we do, and remember that they're always copying us, that we are their role models. So we have to become the best version of ourselves so that our children can become the best version of their self as well.
We're out of time. Well, it went quick. Before we go, I want you to get your website out to everybody so they know where to look you up.
Yeah, so it's ElisabethHancock.com, and that's Elizabeth spelled with an S, not a Z, ElisabethHancock.com. And you can find everything on there. I'm also on social media on Elizabeth Hancock Author on Instagram and Facebook, and Elizabeth Hancock on YouTube. And I have a podcast of my own, which is, I've just rebranded it to call it the Great Awakening Podcast. It was called Work Your Energy, but it's now the Great Awakening Podcast. Because I really feel that this is the time of awakening for so many of us, for so many people. And it's a time for us to learn new information and, understand more about this multiverse, this reality, this holographic reality that we're living in, understand more about all of this so that we can live better lives ourselves and pass this on to our children ourselves as well.
Well, Elizabeth, you've been great. Thank you so much for being on the show tonight. Definitely want to get you back on again in the future. Thank you so much. Check out Elizabeth Hancock's new book coming out. You said it releases on Amazon tomorrow?
Yeah, hopefully Monday or Tuesday, depending on how long it takes for them to say yes to it, basically. But yeah.
Human Origins, the Multiverse, and Our Star Ancestry. If you're a fan of been listening to the show, those are all topics we've talked about so many times on the show, and we'll continue to. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, everybody, for watching tonight. Thank you, Josh Turner and Sunny Side of Life, for the donations on the Super Chat. It means everything. It helps pay the bills. Don't forget to check us out on Patreon, guys, if you want to donate there. Check us out on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Don't forget to follow and subscribe and keep sharing out to your friends. Tell them about Paranormal Soup, where the weird happens live every Sunday night, 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Pacific time. Thanks, everyone, for watching. I don't know if we'll be back next week. I don't have a guest scheduled. I got some stuff going on. I hope if we do come back, might be a little bit of a short show, open lines. We'll see. Or we'll be back the following week with Mike Ricksecker. That's in 2 weeks. Can't wait to have him back on the show. We love Mike. All right, guys, have a great night. Maybe next Sunday or the following. We'll see you then.